The new transfer student barely said a word to anyone. He just kept his head down, always sitting in silence. And you know how it is, most people ignored him, but not the girls. One afternoon, while he's asleep, they're admiring his looks. And one of them even snaps a quick photo. Later, she shyly shows it to him. But right on cue, her boyfriend walks in. Seeing them, he starts mocking the new guy for being so quiet and skinny. The girl just brushes it off, telling Taksu to sit down because class is starting. But later that day, Taksu sees his girlfriend fanning the new guy again. She doesn't even spare him a glance. She just sits right next to Jison. Because of this, he loses focus in his game and smack. A ball hits him square in the face. At first, he just laughs it off with a cold glare at the two of them. But after the game, he shaves the head of the kid who threw the ball. Why? Because nobody is allowed to embarrass him in public like that. And by pure coincidence, this is exactly where Jison hangs out. So he sees the entire thing. Realizing this, Taksu threatens to give Jison the same haircut, but pay attention here. The main character doesn't even flinch, he just stares back calmly. Taksu tries his best, but he can't get a single shred of fear out of him. So he backs off, claiming he's only stopping to avoid drama with the girls at school. That night, as Jison is heading home, two students tell him that the girl's boyfriend wants to see him. When Jison arrives, the boyfriend shows him the girl's phone. Her wallpaper, that photo she took of Jison earlier. She tries to play it down, telling Jison to just leave, that it means nothing. The boyfriend, furious, suddenly slaps her hard, knocking her to the ground. "Why are you taking his side instead of mine?" he screams, but she stands her ground. "You call yourself my boyfriend, but you're always out partying with other girls." Enraged, he kicks her right in the stomach, and just as he raises his hand to hit her again, Jison steps in and blocks the blow. And here it is, the moment we've all been waiting for. The boyfriend swings at Jison with everything he has, but it does nothing. When he attacks again, Jison easily dodges and lays him out with one powerful punch. The entire group goes dead silent, completely stunned. The other bullies charge at Jison, but he takes them all down, one by one. Then he turns back to the boyfriend and starts beating him again and again, until the girl finally intervenes and stops him. It was in that moment she realized the quiet boy wasn't just silent. He was carrying a hidden darkness deep inside him. As she was leaving school, she saw something disturbing. A group of boys were cornering Jison, dragging him away by force to meet their leader. She freezes for a moment, watching from a distance, trying to figure out what's going on, but she can't just walk away. Making a quick decision, she decides to follow them. Gripping her umbrella tight, she runs to the corner and ducks into a hiding spot to watch. Peeking out, she sees Jison delivering punches and kicks to every single one of them. He was like an out-of-control animal, while the boys were desperately screaming for him to stop. She was paralyzed, just watching this absolutely terrifying scene unfold. As he left, the boy, clearly stunned by what just happened, walked past the spot where she was hiding. They lock eyes for a brief, tense moment. She offers him shelter under her umbrella, but Jison just turns his back and walks away. And you and I both know, after what she just saw, things just got a whole lot more complicated. The next morning at school, the students. All right, let's dive right back in. The fallout from Jison's epic beatdown is already spreading. His absence, though, was definitely getting attention. Yana's friend looked pretty heartbroken. She felt that without Jison, everything just seemed empty, while they were thinking about him. A little distance away, the boy who witnessed the fight was recounting every single detail. He's talking to a man who is completely shocked to discover what happened. Taksu had been beaten and was now hospitalized. He questions the boy for more info. The kid replies that Taksu would need to be in the hospital for a while due to facial fractures. On top of that, he's refusing visitors because he finds the whole situation embarrassing. He also mentions that 4 people were injured in the brawl. The man then asks the big question, who in the world is strong enough to defeat Taksu? The boy reveals it was a guy named Jison, the new transfer student. The one who doesn't speak a word, which is why no one knows a single thing about him. 4 guys lost to one mystery kid. Yeah, you and I both know this boss is not happy about that. One of the man's henchmen grabs the boy by the neck, questioning him aggressively. Was he just hiding to avoid getting hit himself? The kid replies that he wasn't. He didn't approach because 5 against 1 is unfair, and that's why he didn't intervene. The henchman throws the boy against the wall, while what appears to be the boss steps in. He asks a simple question: where had Jison transferred from? The boy replies that no one knows because Jison literally never speaks. The heavyset man slaps the boy hard across the face, calling him useless. He then asks if this Jison has any striking characteristics, something to identify him by. A little embarrassed, he replies that Jison is so handsome he could be a model. He wins favors from girls easily, has a cool style, and seems to be rich too. As he keeps gushing about the young man's charm, the big man hits him again. He asks if he's in love with the boy. Meanwhile, the boss is just trying to understand. The story of this silent and mysterious transfer student named Jison, a fighter. With an attractive appearance, that was a very rare and dangerous commodity. The man becomes completely absorbed, reflecting on how attractive Jison must be. The next day, back at school, Jison goes about his normal routine, heading for his locker. The boy is there, spying on him from a distance, just as he was ordered. His mission was to investigate and find out what kind of person Jison was. Facing his boss's furious look, he had simply agreed that he would investigate the guy. But now actually having to do it, yeah, I know what you're thinking, he's totally regretting it. Jison opens his locker, which is practically empty. A phone lying inside begins to vibrate. He picks it up to check the texts, which are congratulating him on something. They inform him that he has received the phone for free. It was an old model. But XD talk worked, and the person on the other side would listen to any concerns he had. The protagonist looks around, searching for someone who might be watching him. However, he doesn't spot either of the 2 people who are hiding from view. Some girl had given the phone to Jison, and she seemed incredibly nervous about the whole thing. He, however, appears to ignore the gesture, simply leaving the device on the locker shelf. He then walks away calmly. The boy watching him seizes the opportunity. He rushes over to take the phone Jison had just left behind. Upon grabbing the phone, he starts checking the type of device and if it's unlocked. Suddenly, a hard shove from behind sends him flying to the ground. It was the girl. And ran off with his phone. The kid just stays on the floor, wondering what just happened and who the hell that girl was. He's furious at the disrespect, thinking to himself, why are bullies so wild these days? Meanwhile, Yuri tells Yana about her aunt's poodle having puppies, and how she wants to adopt one, but her dad is completely against the idea. But she quickly realizes Yana isn't even listening, lost in her own thoughts once again. Yuri asks if she's worried about Jison, since this is the 2nd day he's skipped school. Looking up, she spots him. There he is, standing tall but with a completely lifeless stare. The second Yana sees him walking closer, she just freezes. She shoves her stuff into her friend's hands and bolts towards him, pulling him into a tight hug. Shocking literally everyone around them. With tears in her eyes, she asks him if he's okay, telling him she'll never, ever forget that he saved her life. And the boy watching all this, it just confirms his theory. Girls are crazy for Jison. He jots down more facts about Jison on his phone, noting his late arrival, how popular he is with girls, and the fact that he still doesn't say a word. As the school day ends, our protagonist walks his usual route home. But of course, some guys are waiting for him there, and trust me, this is where his day gets way worse. One of them spots him, remarking on how much he stands out from the crowd. He lets out a whistle to alert his buddy. They start following the boy on their scooters. Soon, they've got him surrounded, trying to box him in and look tough. They ask him if he's Jison, and just as you'd expect, the boy says nothing, but his silence is all the confirmation they need. The main guy then orders him to get on the bike, saying he's here to pick him up. He asks Jison if he's ever heard of Kong Duil from Dessau Technical High School. He brags that after hitting his second year, Kong Duil became a total legend. One of the top 3 fighters in the whole school, everybody knows his name. After all, Dessau High is on a completely different level than Jison's school, which is just a meeting spot for nerds. He says that Kang wants to meet him, promising that he has nothing to worry about. For now, it's just an invitation, so he won't die. Jison, however, doesn't even flinch, which starts to tick them off. They start shouting, ordering him to get on the damn bike already. One of the goons snatches the boy's backpack, menacingly asking if he wants to get on after they break his legs or if he'll do it while they're still being nice. Jison's response, he just lets the backpack drop and keeps on walking. That move completely enrages them, and they immediately take off after Jison. The boy ducks into the first narrow alleyway he sees. One of the bikers tries to follow, but completely misses the turn and slams right into a wall. The other one, however, keeps the chase going. Not even a massive staircase is enough to stop this guy, who just revs his engine and rides right up it. Just as he's about to catch Jison halfway up, pay close attention because you're about to see some quick thinking. With a single kick, he sends a trash bag flying right into the biker. The guy goes tumbling all the way down the stairs, motorcycle and all, crashing right on top of his buddy, who had just recovered from his little wall accident. Seeing the bike crash and burn down the stairs, one of the goons just looks at the other and yells, "What did you do?" They both get up and start running, trying to catch the boy who's already making his escape. They see him turn another corner. They pick up the pace, thinking they've got him, but when they get there, nothing, just another gigantic, sprawling staircase staring back at them. Halfway up, they spot a kid running for his life. Finally, they think. They grab him, spin him around, and it's the wrong guy entirely. That's it, they absolutely lose it. This random kid is about to pay the price. They just unleash all their frustration on him for being in the wrong place. And as they're beating this poor kid, Jison is watching from the rooftops before slipping away. Back at the base, the thugs have to report their total failure. The short-tempered heavy of the group completely loses his mind. He starts kicking them for their incompetence, and they try to explain that the kid vanished into an alley that was basically a maze, making it impossible to catch him. And here's where the real pressure kicks in. The boss, Kang Doyle, says his patience is wearing thin. He turns to another guy, Shung Min, and asks if he's found anything on Jison. Shung Min hands over his phone, saying he dug up what he could. Kang Doyle glances at the screen, sees only 3 measly pieces of information. Enraged, he explodes, "You call this an investigation?" The heavy shoves Sunung Min to the ground with the other failures. But the boss tells them to let him go. Instead, he gives him a new mission, bring Jison to the back gate. Tomorrow after school, he looks Shung Min dead in the eye and asks, "Can you handle that?" He puts another guy, Daeshik, in charge of making sure it happens, concluding the meeting. "I need to see Jison by tomorrow." The heavy nods, ready to follow orders. Meanwhile, Sunung Min is in total shock, realizing he's being dragged deeper and deeper into this dangerous mess. The next morning, bright and early, Sunung Min is at a vending machine buying 2 sodas when a friend walks up. "Hey, is one for me?" Sunung Min shuts him down fast. "No, why would it be?" His friend just shrugs, "So who's the other drink for?" Just then, Jison walks by. Okay, this is his chance. Let's see how he plays this. Sunung Min immediately goes after him. He catches up from behind with a friendly greeting, asking, "Hey, you okay?" and offers him the soda. He tries to explain himself. "Look, I wanted to clear the air. It might have seemed like I was with those thugs, but I only hung out with them a couple of times," he nervously continues. And on the day of the fight, honestly, it felt amazing, seeing that bully get beaten so badly he couldn't even fight back. It was a huge relief. So, I'm here to thank you for that. But Jison, he pays him no attention whatsoever. Doesn't even look at him, just keeps walking. Honestly, that's what he expected. But now Sunung Min is wondering how on earth he's gonna get this guy to the back gate. Still, the thought of that angry heavy was all the motivation he needed. The day drags on and lunchtime finally rolls around. The classroom empties out. But Jison just keeps sleeping at his desk for a little while longer. As he finally gets up, Sunung Min is watching him, hiding just outside the door, and then it clicks. He finally understands why he's never once seen Jison in the cafeteria. He packs his own lunch. Jison heads to his usual spot to eat, and as he sits down on the bench, he pulls out his phone again. A message pops up on screen. Is today's lunch bread again? Jison immediately ducks down to hide. Just when we think he's a total loner, this happens. The person texting him is a girl named Ariam. Seeing that he's holding his phone, she starts spamming him with messages. Do you always eat alone on the rooftop? She asks, revealing something more. I do too. Her message reads, I've seen you on the rooftop a few times. And because of that, I wanted to talk. Now, as Jison looks around for who sent it. Another message pops up, I'm to your left. He turns and there she is. She gives a little wave before quickly putting her hand down. It's still not easy for me to face people, she types. Admitting I heard you don't talk, I'm kinda the same way. She then asks him directly, so, what's your reason for being silent? But just as Jison goes to type his answer, someone shows up shouting his name. It's Sunung Min, acting like their meeting is some kind of happy coincidence. He claims he was just there to eat his bread, asking, what are you eating? Without even waiting for a reply, Sunung Min plops down right next to him. Guess I'll eat with you, he announces. An awkward, heavy silence falls over them. Suddenly, Seong Min starts whimpering, soft at first, just enough to get Jison's attention. Then crying, Seong Min confesses he has no friends. He says that's why he hangs with the Taku crew, just so he won't be an outcast. He even suggests that since they're both loners, maybe they should be friends, but you and I both know Jison isn't falling for this act. Sunung Min's entire plan is failing, not even the fake tears are working. Our guy Jison just stands up, ready to leave, but Sunung Min isn't giving up. He grabs Jison's arm, pleading, so are we friends or not? As expected, Jison completely ignores him. He just walks off, leaving the guy hanging, still desperately waiting for an answer. A bit later, near the end of school, Daeshik messages Sunung Min, demanding to know where he is and why he hasn't delivered Jison to him yet. The teacher dismisses the class, and Sunung Min panics. Okay, so plan A was a total flop. Now watch what this desperate snake tries next. He searches everywhere, getting more and more worried, thinking his target already went home. Finally, he checks the 5th classroom. At first, he sees nothing. But then he spots Jison, sitting coolly by the window, just watching the world go by outside. Seriously, the guy looks like he's posing for a photo shoot. More texts from Daeshik, pushing him to hurry up, finally force Sunung Min to make his move. He calls out to Jison, trying to talk to him again. This time, he says he called his mom and told her he made a friend. He claims she was so happy, she asked him to bring his new buddy to her workplace so she could meet him. Then he drops the question, can you come with me, just to pretend you're my friend? Sunung Min figured that by using his own mother in his lie, Jison would have no choice but to say yes. But Jison says nothing, so Sunung Min just walks up and starts physically guiding him, telling him where to go. To get to my mom's job, we have to use the back gate. It's faster, he says. But Sunung Min knew that around here, if you were naive, you wouldn't last a single day. He quickly messages Daeshik, telling him they're heading for the back gate. And right on cue, here's the trap we all saw coming. Daeshik walks past Jison and slams his shoulder into him, hard. Jison stumbles, about to hit the ground, but Daeshik catches him by his backpack strap. You should watch where you're going, he says, adding, if you give up so easily, there's no reason for the boss to bother. Should have waited this long. He slams Jison against the wall like a sack of trash. Pleasure to meet the quiet one, he sneers, grabbing him by the neck. Nice face, he says, but from what I can see, your skills are a joke. Jison plants his foot square on Daeshik's chest and shoves. He pushes back hard, breaking free from the bully's grip. But as Jison lands, the phone he just won slips from his pocket, rolling dangerously. It inches towards a nearby storm drain as Daeshik lunges at him again. Is that all you've got? A punch flies, and Jison blocks it with his arms. Still, the sheer force of the blow slides him backward, even closer to the drain. Quick thinking, Jison sees his chance and snatches the phone from the edge. Just in time, he saves it from falling into the sewer below. Boiling with rage, Daeshik bellows, the next hit will completely annihilate you. Jison gets to his feet, ready for whatever comes next. Now I know what you're thinking, skinny kid versus this huge guy, game over, right? Even the other kid watching from afar is feeling guilty, thinking he led Jison to his doom. He's sure the big guy Daeshik is about to wipe the floor with him. Daeshik charges forward, yelling for Jison to even try and block this next attack. But instead, our guy cleverly uses his backpack as a makeshift shield. The impact is still huge, sending him flying backward into the wall. For a second, Daeshik is actually surprised. He even admits Jison is smarter than he looks. Jison wastes no time and quickly empties the contents of his backpack onto the ground. Daeshik runs at him again, screaming that a cheap trick like that won't work twice. But as the blow comes, Jison masterfully dodges to the side. In one fluid motion, he whips the backpack strap around Daeshik's leg. With a powerful tug, he completely throws the big guy off balance. Daeshik hits the ground hard, stunned and confused by what just happened. And let's be real, that was a brilliant move. As he tries to get up, Jison is already moving. A clean, precise kick connects right with the bully's face. Bullseye. The big guy can't even process it. How is this skinny kid so strong? The friend hiding in the distance watches, his jaw on the floor, absolutely shocked. Daeshik is down for the count, his face already starting to bruise. Jison just turns his back, a look of pure contempt as he picks up his phone. But it's not over. Daeshik suddenly scrambles to his feet and charges again. This fight isn't finished, he roars, landing a dirty sucker punch. The cheap shot connects with Jison's chest, knocking him to the ground. Daeshik snatches the phone Jison dropped. Is this thing really that important to you? I just need to take it, Daeshik says, and I regret nothing. For whatever reason, it seems Jison needs to be brought somewhere, alive. Out of nowhere, a guy on a motorcycle pulls up right beside them. Daeshik hops on, telling Jison if he ever wants his phone back, he has to go to Ali Park. As they peel out, he shouts that a special welcome will be waiting for him. The scared kid runs over to Jison to see if he's okay. He's stunned to see Jison is completely fine, not a single injury on him. He asks what he's going to do now that they have his phone. And you and I both know that if there's anything sensitive on there, his entire private life is about to be exposed. In serious trouble, but Jison just says, my mother can wait for next time. I have to get to Ali Park now. All right, let's see just how far our guy will go for this. The other kid figures he's done his part. Now he just has to wait and see if the bait was taken. And sure enough, Jison, our protagonist, gets up without a word. He starts walking, and the other boy is shocked he's actually going. He's really going after his phone. Soon, Jison arrives at a gigantic wooden staircase. He starts to climb, walking right past some very shady-looking guys just waiting there. As he gets closer to the top, he spots a whole crowd of them. They're definitely a gang, and it looks like they were all waiting for his arrival. They form a path, and you know who's waiting at the end of it. The leader, Euphoric, has a satisfied smirk on his face when he sees Jison has shown up. Holding up the phone, he asks, "Is this what you came for?" Jison just walks straight toward him to get his property back. The leader comments, "I couldn't find anything interesting on this thing. No phone numbers. No call history, only a few texts from some girl were saved." A girl who was apparently watching him. The phone seems totally worthless. The leader is surprised Jison came all this way just for this. He asks, intrigued, so what's the deal? Jison stops right in front of him and just extends his hand, asking for the phone. The boss questions him, is she your girlfriend? Or is this something just getting started? He admits this whole story is making him curious, getting frustrated by the complete lack of answers from Jison. The leader reveals he already sent a message from the phone. That's right, over on her end, Rem is getting a few texts. They're from Jison's number, promising that if she shows up at the park, she would become his girlfriend if she actually goes after reading that. It's a stone-cold sign that she's totally into Jison, the boss declares. If you two become a couple, you owe me a treat. Okay, I know what you're thinking, this is next level dirty. But Jison doesn't say a single word, he just keeps his hand held out. Waiting for his phone, the boss asks, you really want it that bad? And adds that his goon had a pretty hard time even getting him here. That thug, Taksu, had always been way too reckless for his own good. The boss figured he would get himself into serious trouble sooner or later. But here's the thing, despite everything, they knew each other. They were classmates back in elementary school. Then he asks, are you ready to face the consequences? The boy, however, stays completely silent, which actually makes the boss crack a smile. He's impressed by Jison's unwavering, silent resolve, so the boss makes a promise. If you can get through my men, I will give you your cell phone back. He explains, as a transfer student, Jison, you probably have no idea about how brutal the turf wars are in this neighborhood. By confronting Taksu, he basically declared war on the whole crew, and finally, the boss says it. I'm waiting to see what you're capable of, and trust me, you are going to want to see this. Immediately, the biggest guy in the crew steps forward, looking for some revenge. He throws a massive punch, but Jison dodges it with ridiculous ease. This makes the huge attacker even angrier, and he bellows at the other guys. Get him, all of you, and just like that, the entire gang charges in. Stick with me here, because this kid has some serious dodging skills, but refuses to throw a single punch. He just intercepts their hands mid-attack. But with this many guys, he's bound to take some hits, even though he does a good job protecting his face. He staggers, falling right at an attacker's feet. That guy immediately lands a clean hit right on Jison's face. Now that he's down, the others start laying in kicks, while their boss just watches. He sees the kid getting absolutely pummeled by everyone and wonders why. Why only defend, why not fight back? He figures maybe the kid just doesn't care about their little hierarchy dispute. One of the men next to the boss points out, even with a beating like that, the guy hasn't made a single sound. He asks, you think he'd rather sacrifice his own life than say a word? This attitude just makes the boss even more curious. He wants to hear what Jison's voice actually sounds like. So get this, he yells out that whoever makes the boy scream will win a pair of limited edition Nike Air Jordans. That promise is all it takes to get the whole gang to go even harder on Jison. The assault becomes relentless. Blow after blow rains down, but Jison sticks to defense. So the boss roars, Jison, show me your true power, prove you're something special. And just then, Daeshik appears, ordering everyone else back. He kicks the boy, taunting him, asking where all that fire Jison had just a few moments ago has disappeared to. Our protagonist slumps to the ground, his face completely messed up. One of the attackers sees an opening and grabs a huge rock. Looking at the boss, he declares he'll be the one to finally make the wretch scream. He adds that he never liked Jison's face anyway. But just as he moves in, the boss himself steps in, kicking the rock right out of the guy's hand. He asks the thug if he has a death wish. Then the boss grabs Jison by the shirt, hauling him up to eye level. Why do you look like you're enjoying this? What are you trying to hide? He makes it clear the situation won't end until Jison proves what he's really made of. This won't stop until you prove your true worth. The young man who betrayed Jison is hiding nearby, watching the whole brutal scene unfold. Just as he figured, This gang is on a whole other level than Taksu's crew. As he's thinking, he spots Ara walking toward the chaos. At that exact moment, the gang boss's phone vibrates. He checks the message. All it says is, "Let Jison go." The boss immediately scans the area, trying to find the sender. And his eyes land on the girl standing there, holding her phone. He tells Jison that maybe now he'll finally find the motivation to fight, since his potential girlfriend is here to watch. Maybe now you'll find some motivation to fight, since your potential girlfriend is here. With a simple nod, the boss orders one of his henchmen to go get the girl. Waving his own phone, he shouts for her to come closer. "Get over here." As she's typing another message, the henchman approaches from the side. He grabs her arm and is visibly shocked by her beauty. She tries to pull away, but he just tightens his grip, asking where she thinks she's going. "Trust me, everything is about to explode." "All right, stick with me here, because you're about to see a coward hiding behind a tree watch his crush walk into hell." He's completely frozen. He just watches as a thug drags the girl closer to the gang. The goon smirks, saying she needs a good look at her little boyfriend's busted-up face. Then he shoves her right in front of the gang's boss. Ariam and Jison just stare. They lock eyes for a second, probably remembering the few times they'd met before. But now she's here, arm bruised and looking absolutely terrified. Her sudden appearance actually seems to surprise the henchmen for a moment. The chubby one starts talking trash, asking if she came to be the scoundrel's girlfriend. He then says that the young man is a little busy at the moment, getting a lesson. "You came here because you want to be his girlfriend. He's a bit busy right now." Jison's a frustrating guy who needs to be taught. In response, the girl just types. A message appears on her phone, clarifying he's just a friend and telling them to let him go. "He's just a friend, let him go." The boss isn't impressed. He asks why she isn't speaking out loud either, and then demands her name. "Why aren't you speaking? What's your name?" He gets no response. That's when he notices what they have in common: silence. The whole gang starts laughing. They start mocking them, scoffing at the fact that they only communicate with messages and calling them total freaks. They only talk by text. How strange. The boss announces that it doesn't matter who, but someone needs to make them speak, and there'll be a reward for it. It doesn't matter who does it, but someone needs to make them talk, and they'll get rewarded for it. The chubby guy asks if that reward includes the girl. The boss confirms it. Now pay attention, because this is where everything goes south. The thugs immediately swarm her. They start harassing her, saying that if she can't speak, she can't say no. Some grab her arms while another yanks at her hair, and Jison, he just watches. The boss taunts him, asking what he's going to do now, just going to stand there. Is this how he's going to resist? All while the thugs continue to torment the girl. One of them grabs her face, demanding to know why she won't open her mouth. He's trying to force her to speak. Then, suddenly, one of the thugs goes flying. Jison looks over at the fallen man, and as he turns his head to see what happened, he gets a fist right to the face. The man in the hat steps up. He asks Jison what the hell he thinks he's doing. But in the next instant, a punch lands clean on his face and he drops to the ground, completely unconscious. This just hypes up the boss, who realizes Jison is finally fighting back. And there it is. Jison pushes the aggressors off the girl and finally attacks. The girl, meanwhile, is still frozen with terror. The entire gang now turns on Jison. They unite to take the young man down, landing a few punches. He grabs one of them by the leg and literally throws him into the others. Another guy jumps him from behind, but Jison quickly grabs his hair. He delivers a flurry of brutal punches to his face. A kick comes from another direction. The young man dodges, grabs the attacker's leg, and slams him to the ground. At that moment, the chubby man charges, running full speed towards Jison. He yells that he's going to end this. It's Daishik. Meanwhile, the guy on the floor, with his leg trapped, screams for Jison to let go. Jison gives him a kick instead. Right to the chin, knocking him out cold. Then, he turns to face Daishik. Jison ducks the punch Daishik tries to land. then steps right on his leg, using it for momentum to slam a knee into Daeshik's face. Jison doesn't stop there. He follows up with a brutal kick, planting the sole of his foot on his opponent's jaw. Watching this, the boss gets more and more excited, realizing this young man is a rare find. Meanwhile, the clash between Jison and Daeshik continues. Daeshik grabs him with all his strength. He's already missing a tooth, and he's absolutely furious about getting beaten again. Jison just raises his arms high and brings his elbows down hard on Daeshik's face, right in his eyes. He keeps hammering his enemy's face with his elbows, knocking more of Daeshik's teeth loose until he finally falls unconscious. The crowd is in total disbelief at the scene. Nobody ever expected to see Daeshik defeated, but Jison's fight against the whole gang was just getting started. Through a flurry of punches and kicks, all his opponents fall. And all the while, the gang leader just watches, totally impressed by the kid's raw skill. He's way more interesting than he ever expected. Then one of the thugs grabs Ariam by her neck, trying to make Jison stop, and this is where they make a huge mistake. Seeing that, the protagonist is hit with a flashback to his past. A woman in a cap held hostage by some man, screaming and crying out for his help. That memory flips a switch. Jison gets even angrier and walks towards them as the thug warns him not to get any closer. Another guy even tries to attack him from behind, but one sharp elbow strike puts that opponent down for the count. He launches himself, closing the distance to the man holding Ari. The man screams, consumed by absolute terror of Jison, but his scream is cut short by a fist to the face. As he drops to the ground, Jison doesn't stop, continuing to attack him, raining down a brutal series of punches. That's when the gang leader finally steps in, ordering Jison to stop. He tells him to take his cell phone back, saying he earned the right to have it. Then the boss invites Jison to join his team, saying that he always gets his hands on something he wants. But Jison, enraged, steps away from the downed thug and walks right towards the gang leader. The boss, looking scared, asks what Jison is doing since the fight is clearly over. He tells him again to stop, questioning the meaning behind that murderous look. Jison, ignoring his words, moves in to throw a punch. Now, you and I are probably thinking this is over, right? Think again. The boss snaps into a fighting stance and dodges the kid's punch, leaving him in disbelief. He counters with a clean shot to the chin, sending Jison flying backward. He falls to the ground, nearly unconscious. The boss just repeats that he had warned him to stop. The boy just lies on the ground, completely still and silent. The gang leader tells him to think carefully about the offer he just made, saying he'll be back for an answer. Then he tosses the cell phone at him. He summons his crew to leave, and everyone follows without a word. Who was that bastard? The chubby guy asks as they're walking down the stairs. He also asks, is the leader seriously going to recruit that mute psycho? He finishes by saying, it was scary to see his eyes roll back. The leader, meanwhile, is thinking about the punch he just barely dodged from Jison. Even then, the boy reacted in an instant, still managing to graze him. That kid has a natural talent for finding openings, a sign of some next-level skill. You and I both know what that means. This is only the beginning. All this did was make the gang leader want Jison even more. Meanwhile, Jison and Ariam are still at the scene where the fight went down. He's just sitting on the bench, looking completely exhausted after that battle. Ariam is clearly worried about his condition. But then she suddenly turns and just runs off, and at that moment, Jison's phone starts buzzing with new messages coming in. Turns out it's the girl. Her message says she went to buy him some medicine and will be back in just a few moments. He remembers the dangerous spot he just put her in. He thinks about it for a second, then leaves his phone right there on the bench and just walks away. Now a boy who is watching everything is terrified of Jison, believing if it had been one-on-one from the very beginning, Jison would have absolutely destroyed every single one of them. Finally, someone interesting had transferred to his school. Passing the bench, he spots the phone and realizes it belongs to Jison. Now pay attention, this is where it all starts to go wrong. Reading the messages, he figures out Ariam sent them. He also realizes she has a massive crush on him, and then he spots her in the distance, returning with the medicine for Jison. He has no idea what he should do. So acting like the coward he is, he makes a decision and just bolts from there. When the girl gets back to the bench, she finds it empty, no Jison, not a trace. The boy keeps running, getting as far away as he can. As he's running, the phone he stole starts vibrating with even more messages. They're from Ariam. And she's saying she bought the medicine but that he disappeared, and she's asking if he's okay. Sunung Min is just stunned by how cold Jison is being. Because this girl is so worried, and he didn't even bother to take his phone. Sunung Min is still frozen, not sure what to do. The girl sends more texts, telling him her name and what class she's in. She thanks him again for his help and asks if maybe they could start talking. Sunung Min is absolutely tormented. I mean, what would you do? Reply, or just ignore the messages completely. He wonders if he should pretend to be Jison, even for just a little while. Suddenly, a new message arrives on the girl's phone. She's completely shocked to have gotten a reply. A simple, short yes to her question. The next day, Sunung Min is showing the fight footage to his friend. The video shows Jison fighting that entire gang all by himself. His friend asks, "Wasn't that the guy you called unlucky?" Sunung Min confirms it. Still in disbelief that he saw the whole thing happen live, his friend says after this, Jison's gonna get super popular. But Sunung Min is just irritated because his crush. Ariam seems to be into this guy, and on top of that, Jison is just ignoring her, which leaves Sunung Min with no idea what to do. As he's lost in thought, his friend says, "If we post this on YouTube, this video will get millions of views, so I'm taking it." The friend takes off running, and Sunung Min follows him, yelling, "Give me back the phone." As he's running, he slams into a guy, knocking the guy's tie clip off, and he quickly apologizes. He just ran into Kim Jin-woo, a second-year student, and trust me, he's the #2 guy at Baekdong High. Recognizing him, Sunung Min immediately bends down to pick up the clip he knocked off, saying, "I'll fix it." Trembling, he puts it back on. One clean slap across Sungmin's face, and the guy just turns his back and leaves. The big dude with Kim Jinwoo warns Sungmin to watch himself. His friend rushes over, asking if he's okay. But Sungmin snaps back that he only got hit because of him. His friend can't believe it, saying getting away with just one slap is a miracle, since that guy is notoriously violent. They were all absolute monsters in a fight, he adds. Then, his friend points out something way more important. Yina walks up to Jison, asking what happened, noticing all the bandages on his face. Our main character's rising popularity is seriously ticking Sungmin off. Ari and Yina are both totally captivated by him. And speak of the devil, Ari is walking past right then. Sungmin tries to act all sympathetic, but she completely blows him off and keeps walking. As he figured, to get Ari's attention, he'll have to go through Jison. While Sungmin is plotting his next move, his friend is hiding in the background. And get this, he's uploading the video of Jisong's fight straight to YouTube. Elsewhere, some bullies are messing with the kid Doksu shaved bald. They drew a face on the back of his head, telling him he looks way better now. Gamen is miserable, but the humiliation isn't over. One of the punks tells him from now on, he can only walk backward. Terrified of a beating, the poor kid does exactly what they say. He stumbles along with no idea where he's going, led by the two bullies. Suddenly, he runs out of ground beneath his feet and loses his balance, tumbling straight down a flight of stairs. Just as he's about to slam onto his back, Jisung catches him, saving the kid from a world of hurt. Yina, who was with our hero, asks if Gamen is all right. But the second she sees the back of his head, she just can't stop herself from laughing, even while he's explaining that bullies did it. Trying to hold it in, Yina apologizes to Gamen. But of course, Jisung sees nothing funny about it, and Gamen is seriously grateful. Later, down in the school gym, One student stands guard at the door while two others are brawling inside, totally surrounded by a crowd cheering them on. The two fighters are in the center, like some kind of main event. It's a whole spectacle. They're even placing bets on the fights. Kim Jinwoo is watching, bored out of his mind. Until a guy shoves a phone in his face. Now pay attention because this changes everything. It's the video of Jison fighting. Every second that passes, the view count skyrockets. Kim Jinwoo asks if that kid goes to their school, and the guy says he must, since the uniform's the same. They're both blown away by the kid's moves, but the video is too grainy to get a clear look. If he really is a student here, this could be huge. So, Kim Jinwoo shouts to the entire gym, asking if anyone knows about a new transfer student. A boy speaks up, saying the quiet new kid is in the class next door, class 5. And there's a rumor he's the one who put Doksu in the hospital, but nobody talks about it, so who knows if it's true. Kim Jinwoo's eyes light up hearing he took down Doksu. And he tells one of his guys to find out everything he can about this new student. Things just got interesting. At lunchtime, some guys call for Gamin to come with them, but he makes up a weak excuse. The moment Jisung leaves the classroom, Gamin latches onto him, saying he has something to tell him. Bought some bread, asking if they could eat together, since our main character didn't really answer. Goman just tagged along, saying they'll start eating together from now on. When they get to the rooftop, Sunung Min is already waiting there. But seeing Goman right next to Jison leaves him totally confused about what's going on. And you can just feel the awkward tension building here. One explains he was waiting for Jison, the other says he just came along. When Sunung Min turns to talk to our protagonist, he spots the drawings on the back of Goman's just laughed, calling him the funny guy as usual. But this time was different. Guan insisted he wasn't joking at all. He tried to explain his body was marked by the reality of school violence. Something that can't be solved by just hiding it. You can't just run from the truth, the boy says. Asking Sunung Min to take a picture for him, not really getting the point, the boy takes the photo anyway. While he's snapping the pic, Jison's phone, which was in Sunung Min's pocket, starts vibrating. Stepping away, he tells them to go ahead and start eating, saying he'll be right back. He pulls the phone from his pocket and reads a text from Rem, wishing Jison a good lunch. But he cluelessly assumes the message is for him and texts the girl back, wishing her a nice lunch too. That one simple text totally makes her day. Suddenly, Yamin bursts through the door, and a startled Sunung Min asks what he's doing here. Yamin walks straight over to where Jison is sitting. He says he was told the quiet kid usually hangs out on the rooftop during lunch. And he confirms that rumor is true. Moving in even closer to the boy, he holds out his phone showing the fight video and asks if that's him. Sunung Min despairs, realizing his friend actually posted that clip on YouTube. Goman just asks what's going on. Yamin says tons of rumors are flying around, and he wants to see the boy's skills in person. But Jison completely ignores him, which just pisses Yamin off. Gearing up to throw a punch, he asks if he's not listening. Now here it comes. As he swings at the boy, Jison calmly dodges. Ya then tries to throw more and more punches, but he can't land a single hit. And this only makes him even angrier. He then says since the kid won't get up, he'll just get beaten sitting down. He tries throwing another punch, but the boy dodges again. In response, Jison delivers one clean, precise kick right to his opponent's shin. And you see that it completely unbalances him, making him lose his footing in an instant. Then Yamin plummets, smashing his face right into the bench. The bully starts screaming in pure agony from the impact. As he roars, Jison just stares at him with a look of absolute contempt. Yamin's face is now covered in blood, as the impact with the bench completely fractured his nose. As he stares up at Jison, he feels this overwhelming aura radiating from the boy. Overcome with fear, he flees immediately. The other two, watching the whole scene, are just stunned by the speed of his escape. Goman, completely perplexed, asks Jison what he even is, calling his nature totally unusual, Sunung Min then reveals that it was Jison who put two in the hospital. This revelation just makes Goman admire Jison even more. However, Sunung Min warns that Ya Min coming to find him is a very dangerous sign. He explains that Ya Min belongs to Kim Jin-woo's gang. And this is where it gets really bad. Kim Jin-woo drags anyone with skills into his crew by force. Confrontations, and now it looked like Jison was his next target. Sunung Min even mentioned hearing some guys volunteer to fight for cash. And that someone like Jison could easily make a fortune. Goman, furious, questioned what kind of garbage he was spouting. And since Jison doesn't talk, he declared he was refusing the offer for him. He pointed out that Jison clearly doesn't enjoy fighting or showing off his strength. Gohan then declares himself Jison's official spokesman, claiming that as his friend, he had every right to act on his behalf. But Sunung Min questioned if they were even real friends, while Goman swore they were. Later, back in the classroom for the second half of the day, Jison's arrival causes a huge stir. Classmates rush over, phones out, showing a video and asking if it was really him. If so, they begged, just give them a nod. Gohan jumps in, telling them to stop bothering Jison and that if they had something to say, they could say it to him. His intervention just annoyed everyone, and they crowded around Jison even more. Suddenly, the door is kicked wide open and Kim Jin-woo walks into the classroom, and trust me, this is where it all goes sideways. He stops at the front of the room and demands to know who the new transfer student is. Everyone hesitates to point at Jison, but Goman standing next to him is a dead giveaway. Kim Jin-woo's eyes lock onto the two of them, but Goman steps in front of Jison protectively. When Kim Jin-woo gets closer, he asks Goman what he thinks he's doing. With a bit of fear in his voice, Goman says he's Jison's representative. And therefore, Kim Jin-woo has to speak to him first. The huge goons with Kim Jin-woo ask Goman who the hell he thinks he is. But Goman just insists all communication has to go through him. For his troubles, he gets a hard slap to the face. As he stumbles back, Goman turns, revealing a goofy face drawn on the back of his neck to the henchman. The thug grabs Goman by the collar, hoists him up, and remarks that this punk is actually pretty funny. Suddenly, Jison shoots up from his seat, as if moved by instinct. Kim Jin-woo asks, "Are you the bastard who broke Ya Min's nose?" Getting no reply. Kim Jin-woo tosses him a business card, asking if Jison has ever heard of his academy. He says he already sent Ya Min to invite him, but since that failed, he decided to come himself. Seeing the kid's total lack of interest, Kim Jin-woo decides to try a different tactic. He asks, "So you like making money?" At that, Goman struggles to his feet, interrupting their talk. He declares that Jison has zero interest in fighting and will not go to any arena. Fed up, Kim Jin-woo delivers a vicious kick to Goman's chest, sending him flying backwards. Goman slams hard into a pile of chairs, crashing down with them. Kim Jin-woo walks over to him and snarls, "Don't you know when to stay out of it?" He then asks, "Why are you acting like a complete fool and getting in our way?" He screams at him to stay down and shut up, then begins to stomp on Goman's body as he lies helpless on the floor. While Kim Jin-woo is just wailing on Goman, Jison calmly touches his shoulder, forcing him to turn around. The two lock eyes for a few intense seconds. Kim Jin-woo tells him to get his hand off his shoulder, because he hates it when anyone or anything touches his body. Jison just tightens his grip, and you can see the pure shock on Kim Jin-woo's face. A henchman storms toward Jison, demanding that he get his filthy hands off of Kim Jin-woo. But Jison just dodges the punch with ease and counters with a clean knee strike right to his face, making the guy spit blood and scream in agony. The thug goes crashing over tables and chairs, but he refuses to go down quietly. He grabs a chair, ready to swing it, and screams out, "Jison, you're finished." But with zero effort. Jison now watch this. He dodges the chair, lands perfectly on a table, and instantly goes on the counterattack. He rushes forward and plants a kick square in his opponent's face, sending him to the ground like he was absolutely nothing. Jison remains standing on the table, radiating this intense pressure that made every single classmate confirm that the video they saw before. It was 100% real. Furious, the bully gets back up, lifting an entire table and roaring with rage, vowing to kill Jison. Just then, the teacher walks in, and upon seeing the absolute chaos, he demands an explanation, breaking up the fight and asking why Jison is standing on a desk. Kim Jin-woo steps in, claiming it was all just a harmless prank to cover for them. He then turns to Gauman, calling him agent, and saying he'll contact him later to speak with Jihan. He heads for the exit, tapping the teacher's shoulder as he walks by, and just tells him to start the class. Later, after school's out, Gauman explains to Sunmin what happened, describing it like a scene from a movie where they couldn't even lay a finger on Jison. Sunmin is gutted that he missed the entire show and asks why Jison hasn't left yet. Gauman says the teacher made him stay behind, even though he didn't even start the fight. The problem is, it happened at school, which could lead to some serious trouble, while those two gossip about their classmates' fate. The teacher offers Jison some green tea in the staff room. Not exactly a teenager's favorite drink, but it serves as a perfect okay, let's pause here. This quiet conversation is where we get some real answers. The teacher mentions how this school's atmosphere is totally different from Jison's last one. He reveals that when the boy's father announced the transfer here, he was completely against it. Worried that it would be too hard to adjust, especially knowing that Jison wasn't speaking. Still, he says he's grateful for the trust placed in him. The teacher continues, recalling the last time he'd seen Jison was about 4 years ago, back when he was still in elementary. He remembers vividly watching the kid training with these incredible, high-energy moves. At that time, Jison's father introduced the teacher as a friend, and the boy greeted him so politely. The teacher thought it was amazing that his father had turned part of their house into a personal training academy just for his son. He remembers they went for a drink after to celebrate their reunion, remarking on what a brilliant young man Jison was. The teacher admits he doesn't know what happened in the years between for Jison to end up in such a horrible place. But he warns that even though he asked the other teachers to be understanding, Jison would have to deal with the students all on his own. And trust me, this is where Jison's real test truly begins. He says his father raised him so strong not just to train his body, but so that someday he would finally overcome his silence. A sudden rain starts falling, catching everyone on their way home by surprise. Taeyoung Min tells his classmate that his real concern now was with Jisung out of the picture, Seungmin couldn't figure out how to lure him back. Just then, the phone he'd taken from Jisung buzzes with a new message. It's from Ari, asking if he has an umbrella. Totally confused, Seungmin asks her why. And she texts back that she's waiting for him in front of the stationery store. He rushes over, already guessing that she probably has an umbrella with her. And sure enough, his gut feeling was right. Consumed by doubt and pure jealousy, he hesitates. He can't stand the thought of Jisung and Ari sharing an umbrella so close together. Then a brilliant idea sparks, and he races to get the boy, ready to put his little scheme into action. Ari waits just a little longer, until she hears Seungmin approaching with Jisung in tow. Faking total surprise, Seungmin tells his friend he doesn't have an umbrella either. Seeing Ari, he pretends he has no idea why she's standing there. The girl digs into her backpack and pulls out a spare umbrella, offering it straight to Jisung. For a second, Seungmin's plan looks like it's dead, but this snake doesn't give up. Even seeing that her eyes are locked on Jisung, he intercepts the umbrella. He grabs it, thanks her with a gentle smile, and spins a lie about him and Jisung heading to a new gaming center on Main Street. Seeing his chance, he invites her to come along with them. Now pay attention, because at that same moment, Gamin is running home through the rain. But as he cuts through an alley, he's blocked by two guys, Jinho, whose nose Jisung broke, and that big dude who got wrecked back in the classroom. Terrified, Gamin asks them what they want. Jinho sneers that since he's Jisung's agent, they've got a message to deliver. The two thugs beat the kid down, trying to make a point. Jinho says they'll meet again soon and forces Gamin to repeat his words. Barely able to speak, the poor kid stammers that the message is for Jisung to participate. One of the thugs hits him again, ordering him to say it properly this time. Now in tears, Gamin promises he'll tell Jisung everything. The bully then asks if he knows what a quick access penalty is, basically threatening to end him. But right then, Kim Jinwoo appears out of nowhere, stepping in and telling the thugs to take it easy. Jinwoo pulls out a business card and hands it to the terrified boy. He tells the kid to let Jisung know he'd be very welcome to join the combat kennel. With that, the three of them leave, with Gamin left injured on the ground. Back at the brand new arcade, Suman is busy playing games with our protagonist. While Suman plays with all this fake enthusiasm, Jisung looks bored out of his mind. With skills he thinks are top tier, Suman tries his absolute best to impress Ari. But while he's busy acting like the king of the arcade, Jisung casually scores a point against him. Suman tries to hide his shock, pretending like everything is still under his control as he dives back into the game, desperate to win. Our main character, on the other hand, plays with an insane level of ease. Scoring another point without even trying, stunned by his friend's skill, Suman tries to recover his confidence, declaring he won't go easy anymore. Yeah, right. The match ends with a crushing score of 13-0. Jisung didn't even let his opponent score a single point, so Suman invites Ari to play a match against Jisung. He's hoping she'll finally get a taste of his cold indifference and get completely turned off. You and I both know that's not what's going to happen. Some subtle touches and a slower pace, letting Ari score her first easy point. This just made Sunung Min furious, yelling at his friend, asking where the skilled player from before went. Meanwhile, the girl, completely focused, scores yet again. Next up, they hit the claw machines, where Sunung Min was sure his luck would turn. But after failing over and over, he begged for just a little more time. He was so confident he'd get that bear on the next try. And he failed again. Now he's just annoyed, convinced the whole thing is a scam. Right next to him, Jison, cool as ever, snags another bear with zero effort. Now with two identical plushies, just different colors, Jison hands one to each of his friends. Sunung Min, totally embarrassed, mumbles a thank you while thinking to himself. Is there anything Jison can't do? Fed up with this whole chain of events, Sunung Min decides to play his ace in the hole. You gotta see this next move. He drags them both to a karaoke bar. Positive he's a great singer, he belts it out. He's desperately trying to get Ari's attention, but it's less of a concert, more of a comedy sketch. And Ari, she's just clutching the plushie she got from her crush, barely noticing. At the absolute peak of his terrible performance, Sunung Min suddenly chokes on a high note and bolts to find some water. With him gone, Jison and Ari are left alone. Complete awkward silence. Ari pulls out her phone and sends a message to Jison, thanking him for the bear. Then, suddenly, her phone rings. The moment she sees it's her father calling, a wave of panic hits her face. She stands up and rushes for the exit, but as she bursts through the door, she slams right into a man, making him spill hot coffee all over himself. The man absolutely explodes, yelling at her for being careless, and gets even angrier when she doesn't immediately apologize. Now Sunung Min comes back, sees the scene, and I know what you're thinking, he'll step in right. The man asks, is she your girlfriend? Sunung Min's response, we're just classmates. And then the man pours the rest of the coffee right over the girl's head. And just as you'd expect, the coward Sunung Min does absolutely nothing, but then Jison approaches. He grabs the man's arm. Surprised, the guy snaps, what the hell are you doing? Our hero sweeps the man's legs, dropping him to the floor like a sack of trash. The guy's friend tries to jump in, but gets a single punch that puts him on the ground. Ari just watches as both men go down right in front of her. Jison grabs her arm, pulls her to her feet, and the two of them make a run for it. Sunung Min is just left standing there as the man asks if he's with them. Not wasting a second, the boy runs away, wanting no part of this. He grabs his bag and his own teddy bear and just leaves. Once he's on the street, he spots the two hurrying down a flight of stairs. He tries yelling to get their attention, but nothing, they just keep going, disappearing together. Watching them from a distance, Sunung Min couldn't help but notice how perfect they looked together. Jison had saved Ari when she was in real danger, while he just stood there. A cowardly loser, to her, he was nothing but a background character. Head hanging low, he starts walking home, utterly disappointed in himself, when someone calls his name. It's Guan, slumped in a corner, and he looks like he's been through a war. The boy rushes over to ask what happened, and trust me, what he's about to say changes everything. That he wasn't good enough to be Jison's spokesperson. Sun Min asked if Jinwoo's crew was the one who beat him up, and Goman confirmed it. He reveals that his own fear stopped him from keeping his promise to get Jison into that dog fight. Young Min realizes Gaonan is no different. You see, they were both living the lives of cowardly losers. He helps the kid up and starts walking him home. So what do we do now? Goman asks. Young Min just says if Jison really sees them as friends, he'll come through. Meanwhile, Jison and Aryam are walking hand in hand until they reach a certain spot and he lets go. Now they're just walking side by side. She pulls out an umbrella, covering them both from the sudden downpour. But Yena, who was standing nearby, sees the two of them walking so close, and seeing that intimacy. She's just speechless. Did something happen? Her friend asks, but she plays it cool. Nah, it's nothing. Her friend just rushes her along, saying the others are waiting. Yena starts to leave, but that image of them together is burned into her mind. At that same moment, Aryam's phone buzzes with more notifications, but she just ignores them, still lost in the moment. When they get to her apartment building, she stops and finally pulls out her phone. She texts Jison that this is her place, hands him back the umbrella, and says goodbye. She runs off, practically skipping, just euphoric after spending that time with her crush. But as Jison turns to leave, he feels a hand on his shoulder. He turns around to see her holding up her phone with a message on the screen, "Thank you so much for today." And Aryam is just beaming, holding up the device. The girl runs back home, gets in the elevator, and as it goes up, she watches Jison walk away. But the click of a lighter suddenly startles her. Now pay attention, this is where things get tense. Looking to her side, she sees a man, smoking a cigarette and staring her down. What kind of nonsense was that? He asks. Aryam just stays silent, head down. The next day at school, Sunung Min is tearing into Guman for betraying Jison. The boy is drowning in regret. I deserve to die, he says. But Sunung just keeps laying into him, humiliating him with words designed to get a reaction from Jison. So when is Jison supposed to be in this fight? He demands. The guy tells him. Goen says it's Saturday night at 9 p.m. at the gym, and he adds that if Jison doesn't show, the gang is going to kill him. The two of them try to explain how serious this is, how much they need his help, but our main character just turns and walks away. They're left hanging, no idea if he'll show. Goen is completely desperate, convinced all hope is lost. Cut to Saturday night at the fight club. Okay, brace yourselves. Fighters are going at it fiercely, trading absolutely brutal blows. With every single impact, the crowd goes wild. Sun Min and Goman are there, terrified by the sheer violence happening inside a school, wondering if Jison is even going to come. The crowd is electric, feeding off the intensity of the fights. An insane exchange of punches flies between two competitors. And every time one of them leaves an opening, the crowd roars for the other to take the shot. And listening to them, the fighter lands his punches with deadly precision. Through a camera feed, a man watches from a private room. Finally, that match ends. It's time for the main event. The man is curious. He wants to know if Jison will show up, because while he might seem like a quiet and gentle kid, he knows the truth. You and I both know he's a monster. All right, let's dive into the fight scene. He's wondering who to bet on, like Taeyong or Jison. And even though he's curious about the new transfer student, the smart money's on Taeyong. That guy is a straight-up hunting dog, but then his phone starts ringing. He answers and gets the news. There's a student at the gate who isn't talking. The teacher knows exactly who it is, Jison. He just tells them to let him in. Peering out the window, he spots the kid arriving. He's got to admit, the boy's courage is pretty impressive. The courage of a lamb walking to its own slaughter. Just then, the current fight ends. Maku is declared the winner. Kim Jin-woo immediately asks where Jison is. With the main event getting closer, his goons start shaking down other kids to find out. They warn them if Jison doesn't show, they'll have to fight Taeyong instead. And right at that moment, the gym doors swing open. Every single eye snaps towards the sound. And there he is, Jison, the transfer student in the flesh. Nobody can believe he actually showed up. Even his two friends are just staring in shock. They rush over, thanking him for coming to save their skins. Kim Jin-woo smirks, saying Jison appeared right on time, just like a ghost. He'd been waiting for him. He announces that if Jison wins, anyone who bet on him hits the jackpot. Problem is, only 10% of the people actually put money on his name. But then he adds that he himself placed a bet on Jison. In his eyes, Jison is just as hungry for a fight. He tells the kid to show everyone what he's really made of today. The two fighters stand face to face, staring each other down, trying to get a read on their opponent. Taeyong finally pulls off his headphones and asks if this is the transfer student. He tosses the headphones into the crowd, telling someone to play that song. Then he rips off his shirt and declares that it's showtime. Both of them get into their fighting stances, ready for war. They charge. Blows are exchanged, but Jison dodges every single one with insane precision. He throws a punch back, which his opponent barely manages to block. They continue to size each other up. I think we can all see what's happening here. They're testing each other's limits. But between all the punches and kicks, only Taeyong is taking any real damage. After a few more quick exchanges, he realizes something. Out of everyone he's ever fought, Jison is on another level. The whole situation is chilling, but he refuses to back down. The second that thought crosses his mind, a fist connects with his face. Jison saw a tiny opening when Taeyong dropped his guard, and he took it. And he doesn't slow down, unleashing a brutal storm of hits on his opponent. No room to breathe, no chance to retaliate. Jison's friends are going wild with every single hit. Taeyong is getting seriously pissed off, mostly because Jison's expression hasn't changed at all. He's basically become Jison's personal punching bag. Meanwhile, the teacher is watching on camera. He's wondering what the hell is wrong with the kid he put all his money on. The crowd starts getting loud, angry that Lee Taeyong isn't fighting back. They start yelling to turn up the music, hoping it'll fire the guy up. Then, in perfect unison, they start chanting Taeyong's name. The music, the roaring crowd, it's actually starting to work. He's getting motivated. But Jison hears a voice in the chants that sounds weirdly familiar, and that split second of distraction costs him. The crowd goes absolutely nuts. They're all wondering what this song is. You and I just found out why. It's Ella Khan, and apparently she's a huge deal. A girl group. Jison suddenly remembered a girl who once told him that when her group finally debuted, he'd officially be a pop star's boyfriend. Back then, the girl had asked him how he really felt about that whole situation. She explained the producers guaranteed her a spot, as long as she stuck to the contract's conditions, and she desperately needed to know if he was okay with it. Just then, his friends had called him to hang out. He simply reassured her, saying, "Whatever you choose, it'll be the right answer for me." The girl, overjoyed by his support, thanked him, telling him, "You're the only one I can truly trust, my safe place." And then suddenly, the roar of the crowd snapped him back to the fight. Lost in the memory, he started taking a flurry of unanswered punches. His friends, worried, wondered what was causing him to suddenly freeze up like this. Taeyong, on the other hand, started to get cocky. thinking Jison was just being overly cautious up until now. With that thought, Taeyong was completely sure of his victory as the ecstatic crowd chanted his name over and over. But the music blasting from a nearby radio was making Jison lose complete control. He was getting pushed back relentlessly, and his friends had no idea how to help. Quickly, they realized the loud music might be the trigger for his distraction. They rushed over to the source, asking the kid to turn it down, but he just shot back rudely, "Mind your own business." Sunmen argued back that Jison couldn't focus with all the noise. In response, they just mocked him, saying that the quiet guy didn't have the guts to win anyway. And that's when Goman snatched the speaker and just took off running. They tried to chase him down, but he managed to kill the music. In our hero's mind, scenes from the past flashed by. The girl breaking up with him, coldly stating, "I don't want to be involved anymore." She announced that from that moment on, they would never see each other again, claiming she was just sick of it all. She turned her back and walked, leaving him screaming her name. He called out for her desperately until he was grabbed and thrown out of the building by security guards. While Jison was trapped in his memories, Taeyong just kept landing hit after hit. Victory felt so close. He just needed a few more shots to end this fight. And so he did, hammering Jison with even more blows. Jison fell to his knees, the image of that girl still burning in his mind. "I know what you're thinking, it's over, right?" As Taeyong reared back for the final, match-ending blow. Every single spectator was sure the fight had reached its conclusion, but just as he sensed the kick coming, Jison dodged. It was like his mind completely rebooted. With surprising agility, he shot back up to his feet, charging at his opponent with absolute fury. He landed a devastating punch right to Taeyong's face, sending him flying to the ground. The entire crowd was stunned silent by that incredible power, but Jison wasn't done. He kicked his opponent's face again. The rival spat blood, completely lost, not understanding what was even happening anymore. Kim Jinwoo knew it right then. The outcome of this fight was already decided. Jison's fans erupted in cheers, while the rest of the arena was dead silent. Taeyong was totally disoriented. Just seconds ago, he was dominating the match, but now he was being kicked around like he was nothing. Jison had a terrifying look in his eyes, his aura completely transformed, and on the ground, his opponent just begged for it to stop. But our protagonist ignores that and kicks his opponent's face one more time, and then again. The crowd starts questioning what in the world he's doing. Let's be real, you and I can see why. They're afraid he might actually kill the guy. Jison, however, seems completely lost in a blind rage. The others look at Kim Jinwoo, asking if he's really going to let Jison kill his opponent with this much intensity. But instead of showing concern, he actually looks pleased with it. He loves the kid's killer instinct, already imagining Jison will be a massive box office success. He's even wondering who the next opponent should be for an even more epic match. Finally, his friends have to jump in and stop the fight, holding him back and telling him that it's over, he already won. Jison's professor is furious watching his star pupil get destroyed, but for Kim Jinwoo. Now pay attention. The only thing that truly matters to him is profit, and he believes Jison is his new golden goose. Kim Jinwoo just has to turn him into a loyal attack dog. He decides he'll be the only one to train the young man. Jison snaps back to his senses, but his opponent is already half-conscious on the ground. Kim Jinwoo congratulates him on the victory, saying his judgment wasn't wrong. He tells the boy to bring that same insane look to the next match too. The fight money will get delivered through his agent. After that, Kim Jinwoo leaves, and the two boys follow him. They try to be friendly, inviting him to celebrate the win. Jison, however, just slaps Goman's hand away as a warning not to touch him. Then he walks off, leaving the guys totally confused. A little further on, as he's passing a store, he hears a familiar sound. And looking up, he sees Isaac Khan's show on a TV screen. The interviewer asks her if she's aware of just how incredibly popular she is right now. She replies that she feels her fans' support for her hard work, even in her moments of weakness. She thanks them. Min and Gomin, who are still following the boy, get really curious as to why he stopped dead in his tracks to watch this report on Isaac. They remember that Jison has been acting weird ever since he heard her music. So they conclude he must be a hater, since they can't imagine the singer having any detractors. Min is then shocked to discover that Gomin is a fan of the singer. He scoffs, saying he would have expected something like that from him. However, he then reveals that he's also a fan of the band. Sometime later, Jison arrives at the beach. The two boys, of course, are still following him there. Our protagonist sits down on a bench and just stares at the sea. Min asks Gammon if they should go talk to him, but Gomin says it's not a good idea. Min insists, arguing that if they're his friends, they should do something. Gomin says he has someone in mind who could comfort him. And he gets quiet, pondering whether or not he should actually do it. Meanwhile, Rem is already asleep when her cell phone starts ringing. She wakes up and sees Jison's message inviting her to go to the beach in front of the lighthouse. And you know she's going. The girl gets dressed and tries to leave quietly. She passes her father, who's slumped over the table, fast asleep after drinking way too much. Suddenly, he starts cursing at nothing and the girl gets scared, but it was just a nightmare. Soon after, he falls back asleep. She manages to leave the house to meet her crush. On the beach, Gomin asks who Sunung Min contacted, and he replies that it was a girl. Gomin is completely surprised to learn this. He admitted to messaging girls as Jison, explaining the whole situation. Turns out, Rem had no idea it was him sending those texts from the phone. She'd given that phone to Jison specifically so they could talk. But when he got his hands on it, he started replying to messages himself. He was pretending to be Jison and knew he should give it back, but he just couldn't. Goen puts a hand on his shoulder, asking the big question, did he like her? Sunung admits he used to, but now he knows his place isn't with her. With a shove, Goen tells him to hurry up and return the phone, now. So Sunung walks over to Jison, who's still sitting on the bench, and hands it over. He apologizes, confessing he pretended to be him for a while. He even says he sent one last message, begging Jison not to push Rem away. As he leaves, he adds that the two of them make a really great couple. Now pay attention, this is where Jison checks the phone and sees it. A message from Rem saying she's almost there. Suddenly, he's feeling nervous. Just then, Rem comes running up to meet the boy she thinks she's been talking to. Hiding in the distance, Gomin can't help but admire how beautiful she is. While Gomin says they're a perfect match, Sunung is heartbroken over losing his dream girl. Gomin decides it's late and they should probably get going. He invites Sunung over to his place for some video games to get his mind off it. The two friends leave, giving the lovebirds the space they need. An awkward silence hangs in the air, broken only by the waves crashing. Rem types that she was surprised he texted and waits for his reply. You and I can just feel the tension here. He replies that he was thinking of her. She tries to talk about the waves, but all he sends back is an emoji. The girl asks if he comes here a lot. He admits it's his first time. Jison asks when she usually sleeps. She says 10 o'clock and that she was asleep when she got the text. He stands up, offering to walk her home, but she grabs his arm. She tells him she doesn't want to go home just yet. He doesn't argue. He just accepts her request and heads over to a vending machine. He gets them both something to drink. She thanks him for being so kind. That's when he finally asks why she didn't want to leave. The girl reveals that her home feels more like a prison to her. She says she was really surprised by his message, since last time all he sent was good night. Even that previous message had caught her off guard, coming out of nowhere. Jison confirms he remembers the good night message from the day before. But he doesn't mention that it was actually Sunung Min who sent it. She keeps explaining that she was having a really terrible day back then. But that simple message felt like a quiet word of encouragement, telling her to just hang on. In that moment, she felt incredibly grateful for it. She finally looks at him and asks the obvious question, why isn't he saying anything? Trust me, his silence has a story, and we're about to see it. His mind flashes back to his ex-girlfriend, seemingly abandoning him. As security guards held him back, threatening to arrest him, she suddenly ran back and hugged him with everything she had. She admitted she'd rehearsed the breakup over and over just to stay cold. But looking at him now, she just couldn't do it. She couldn't leave him. You and I are jumping right in. She's ready to die for him and asks Jison what to do. He promises that no matter what, he'll always be right there by her side, telling her not to cry because everything is going to be okay. But high on a rooftop, Bongan, the CEO of Bongan Entertainment, is watching them. Back in the present, he answers REM, explaining that a person's words can pierce the soul and completely paralyze you. She finds this surprisingly philosophical. She admits she doesn't know what his deal is, but figures his reason for staying quiet must be more complex than hers. So the boy asks her straight up, why won't she speak? Calmly, she replies that it's simple, because her words are as filthy as her father's. She's realized his cruel way of speaking has become a part of her, and admits it's a stupid reason. So Jison invites her to walk along the beach. And being a Saturday night, the entire area is completely packed. As they pass a bar, an argument explodes from inside. A group of guys start ganging up on a younger kid for daring to drink there. But the kid just fires back, saying he looks old enough to drink anyway. His arrogance instantly pisses everyone off, and this guy, it's Kang Doyle, the gang leader who tried recruiting Jison. And he was just trying to drink in peace. One of the thugs asks where Doyle's lackeys are and why he's all alone. Doyle just retorts that he lets the kids rest during the holidays, saying it's easier for him to move solo. The guy tells him to get lost or face the consequences. Doyle taunts him right back, asking if the seniors from Dizzy High bullied him into holding such a grudge. They just call him petty for being stuck in the past. One of them finally snaps, sweeping everything clean off the table. Itching for a fight, but Kang Doyle just stands and kicks the entire table right back at them, declaring that, first of all, he has never been afraid of a beatdown. Everyone inside and out on the street knows a fight is about to go down. The brawl kicks off, but for Kang Doyle, it's like he's playing with children. Then mid-swing, his gaze locks onto Jison's blue hair, and trust me, this changes everything. He grins and yells, "It's a pleasure to see you here. I'm so happy to see my friend." The guy says he was just about to pay him a visit. But fate brought them together. He throws an arm around Jison, who has no idea what's going on, calling it destiny. However, the thugs from the bar come running out, demanding to know if Jison is part of the same gang. Doyle just scoffs, asking if they can't see the connection just by looking. He proudly declares that he and Jison are friends. But the thugs couldn't care less about this so-called friendship. Instantly, Jison pulls REM behind him to keep her safe. The group charges in with hate, screaming that they're going to kill both of these punks, while the gang leader handles one of the attackers. Another one lunges for Jison, saying if they're friends, then they both deserve a beating. With shocking ease, our protagonist takes the thug down. Now the two of them fight together against the whole group, watching each other's backs. You and I are watching them take down everyone in a matter of seconds. Observing the chaos, Ariam thinks that Jison seemed like he was on top of some impossibly high wall, but she was starting to notice something. Every now and then, he'd come down from that wall to help someone. He might look cold, but deep down, he wasn't like that at all. While everyone else fought for selfish reasons, Jison was different. Trust me, we're about to see he fights for something much bigger. Something that went way beyond his own desires. Suddenly, one of the thugs pulls a knife and creeps up right behind the boy. Without a sound, he gets close enough to strike. The girl screams, desperate to warn him, as his fighting partner also yells for him to duck. And watch this, Jison reacts instantly, dodging the attack. A second later, the gang leader flies in with a kick straight to the attacker's face, cursing the guy for having the audacity to pull a weapon in a simple street fight. He sneers that only unskilled punks act like that when they're in trouble. Together, they make short work of anyone else who dares to face them. The guy asks Jison if they don't make a pretty epic duo, cleaning house so perfectly. But Jison isn't looking at him, he's looking at Ari, and her eyes are full of tears. The guy asks if she's scared, brushing it off like it was nothing. In response, our main character just decks him right in the face. Stunned, he demands to know what the hell is going on. Without a single word, Jison slams another fist right into his stomach, sending him to the ground. And get this, on the ground, the guy confesses he set the whole thing up. He just wanted to see Jison fight for real. But when our hero threatens to end him, the kid throws his hands up in surrender, saying he doesn't want to fight. He insists they're on the same side now and apologizes for how it all went down. It was just a test, he explains, one that Jison passed with flying colors. Then he asks Jison to become his friend and join his gang. The boy, however, just turns his back and walks off with Rem. The other guy quickly follows them, commenting that they seem pretty close to be out together so late at night. He adds that he's satisfied, feeling like he played a part in bringing them closer. He says since he owes Jison for the help, he'll show them a better place to rest instead of just wandering around aimlessly. The two of them are hesitant, but they end up agreeing. And the guy takes them to a comic book library. He wakes the attendant, who was sleeping so soundly he'd lost all track of time, and tells him to serve his new customers. The attendant remarks that he's never seen these faces around before, and Doyle just replies that they're his new friends. The attendant notes that his type of friends has definitely changed, since these two are actually good-looking. He tells them to sit anywhere they want, and even offers extra time on the house. As Doyle gets them registered, the scene cuts back to Rem's house. The girl's father has woken up from a deep sleep. As he gets up, he notices the front door is wide open. He rushes to his daughter's room and finds that she isn't there. He starts looking for her all over the house, getting more and more desperate when he can't find her anywhere. Back at the library, Doyle reveals this is his secret hideout, a place he uses to relax whenever he wants. He's granting them special permission to enter, since he doesn't usually allow anyone else inside. He asks if a gesture like this settles his debt. He urges them to chill out and read a manhwa. Then he says goodbye, announcing he's taking a nap, before curling up in a corner and instantly falling asleep. In the quiet that follows, Jison picks up his phone and asks Rem if she was scared. She replies no, she's calm now. Then she asks if he wants to read a manhwa. He accepts, and together they begin. So they chose a book and began to read. After a few pages and some shy glances from the girl, they read in comfortable silence for a long while. That's when the library attendant came over, offering them drinks on the house. He seemed surprised, saying Doyle had friends like them, and mentioned that Doyle didn't really have any true friends, just a bunch of young guys getting into fights. As he handed them the drinks, they both saw that the attendant was missing the tips of 2 fingers. He noticed them looking and said he was used to it, explaining it doesn't bother him anymore, though it was awful at first. He said Doyle still hasn't gotten over the injury. And you can see the pain in his eyes when he explains Doyle was once a normal kid before this incident. He apologized for talking so much on their first visit, then asked them to look after Doyle, calling him a great junior. The hours drifted by, and the girl fell asleep, her head resting gently on his shoulder. She was deep in sleep until her phone suddenly started buzzing, waking her up with a jolt. She was mortified, realizing she'd been leaning on Jison. Checking her screen, she saw 3 missed calls. She told Jison it was her dad calling and that she had to go. Jison immediately offered to walk her home. The two made their way to her place under a beautiful night sky. They arrived at her building and rode the elevator up to her apartment door. She thanked him for the hours of freedom she felt by his side. Jison was a little confused by her words as she turned toward her apartment. And this is where the perfect night shatters. The second she enters the code, her father rips the door open, furious. He screams at her, asking if she's lost her mind, ignoring all his calls like that. Seeing the look on her face only makes him angrier. He slaps her hard across the face, cursing her for daring to look at him that way. With the girl now on the floor, he screams, asking if she has any respect for her own father. He grabs her, trying to drag her inside, demanding to know where she was and what she was doing out so late. His voice gets louder and louder with every question he demands she answer. Watching this, Jison snaps. He's filled with rage and steps toward them. Her father sees him and is now certain Jison is the one responsible for everything. He promises the boy isn't leaving here in one piece. The girl desperately grabs onto her father's clothes with both hands. He just yells at her, ordering her to let go. With tears streaming down her face, she looks at Jison. "Go away," she screams, earning another brutal slap to the face. The man threatens to kill Jison right then and there. She takes the blows, clinging to her father while begging Jison to leave. She screams for him to just run. And what does he do? You and I are about to watch him make his choice. He listens and flees. Our main character thinks back to how he'd already learned to run away in the past. How he'd failed to stand his ground in a situation just like this before. As Jison runs, her father continues to rage, demanding she let him go. But Jison just uses the opportunity to escape. It was simply in his nature to run. He couldn't face it. He just shut his eyes, trying to hide from what he'd seen. Lost in the silence and darkness, he was already far from the girl's house. Trust me, this is where it gets heavy. Exhausted and shaken, Jison finally reaches his home. He finds an old man kneeling before a Buddha, deep in prayer. Jison kneels at the doorstep. The old man sees him and speaks. "You arrived late," he says, noting that this is the first time Jison's been this late, and he must have a lot on his mind. This neighborhood was supposed to be a quiet refuge for Jison. A place to escape, but even here, over time, he's started to build a life. He's made new friends, and now he has to make a choice before things get even more complicated. Will he face it, or will he run away all over again? A few days pass. Back at school, the brutal fights continue, and the fight club is a scene of absolute savagery. And you're about to see just how bad it is. The winners only stop punching when their opponent begs for mercy. After watching a boy give up, Jin Woo storms over furiously to confront him. "You barely even started fighting," he demands, "and you already surrendered." The kid replies that he stood no chance against his opponent. He saw no reason to keep fighting a battle he knew he was going to lose. For that, Kim Jin-woo slugs him right in the face. "If you're in the ring," he declares, "you don't get to have that kind of mentality. People like you don't deserve to be fighters. Get out of my sight." Just then, one of his lackeys says that Professor Kim is calling for him in the warehouse. Inside, the professor tells him they need real fighters, not these fragile kids. He says everyone is getting anxious waiting for Jison's next fight. Kim Jin-woo explains he's trying to find opponents, but most lack any real grit. The rest are just too afraid of getting seriously hurt. The professor asks if he's incapable. With a shaking voice, he says that's not it, he just needs a little more time. When asked how long, the boy nervously asks the professor for a month. The old man scoffs, reminding him how he turned a wretch with fake sneakers into someone who could afford to wear luxury brands. He tells him he's gotten way too confident. His clients, he adds, are not going to wait a whole month. There are plenty of other betting rings where they can get their dopamine fix. And if he can't manage the operation, he can just step aside. The boy immediately drops to his knees, begging. He promises he'll do his absolute best. The professor puts his foot right on the kid's head. "You have 1 week to find an opponent," he says. "Otherwise, you take responsibility and fight him yourself. Okay, you and I both know this is bad." The professor muses that Kim Jin-woo versus Jison would be an interesting fight. A perfect chance for him to show off his fighter side again. The clients would love it. As he leaves, he reminds him again of the 1-week deadline. Jin Woo is enraged. Now he has to find someone, anyone, to throw into that ring. Meanwhile, the three friends are having lunch together on the school rooftop. Goen brought a donut bento, saying bread every day is a bad habit. The two boys insist Jison eat up, telling him he's way too thin. Just when things seem peaceful, Jison's phone vibrates. And Min immediately asks if the message is from Rem. He starts teasing him about the two of them getting along, telling Jison to check his phone already. Our protagonist stands up and walks away to read the message, while his friend tries to peek over his shoulder. All right, stick with me, because this scene starts off a little awkward but gets real deep real fast. He'd asked her to meet at the comic book store. Hours passed, and now they're here. The two of them just stand there in the shop, surrounded by a heavy silence. Just sharing the same space. Finally, she works up the courage and speaks. It would be weird if I didn't talk now, especially after I screamed that time. I hate my own voice because I have a vulgar way of speaking, something I picked up from my father. I learned it when I was young. I wish I could just hide my voice, but honestly, I don't regret it because I didn't want you to get hurt. Rem then explains that her mother endured her father's toxic behavior until one day she finally had enough. She left. From that day on, it was just Rem and her father alone in that house. This led her to speak less and less, until one day she stopped completely. Because of that, the few friends she had just drifted away. Right then, Doyle arrives. The shop clerk tells him his friends are inside. Meanwhile, Rem keeps going. And here's the part you and I needed to hear. She tells Jison she always felt lonely until she heard rumors about him, the new transfer student who didn't speak at all. That's why. She had to know if his story was anything like hers. Doyle walks in and is completely shocked to see her speaking, asking what on earth made her start talking again. A little embarrassed, she just says that she was in a situation where she had no choice. No choice but to break her silence. Naturally, he wants to know what happened. But he just smiles, saying, whatever the reason, I'm glad we have the possibility of communicating more freely. He actually congratulates her on speaking again. Silence falls over them again until Doyle asks about Jess, but then he just brushes it off. Hey, since we're all here, why don't we go grab some dinner? He even invites the clerk to join them, arguing that there are no customers anyway. Just lower the blinds and let's go. And as they all head out for dinner. Okay, let's pause. While they're off having a nice moment, Kim Jin-woo is seething with rage. He's obsessed with fighting Jess. His bigger friend complains, giving us only 1 week is too cruel. Furious, Kim snaps back. Don't you guys know any brawlers we can hire for this fight? I don't know anyone, and it would be a total disgrace to lose to that transfer student. His bulky friend replies, but there is one person I can think of. He's a thug who dropped out of high school and became a full-blown gangster. Anyone who gets involved with him will be in serious trouble, he warns. The other friend is hesitant. Isn't it overkill to bring a real gangster into this? He questions nervously. Who are you talking about? Kim Jin-woo demands. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the city, a man is getting cornered by a loan shark over a debt that's 2 months late. The fact that he was hiding was taken as a clear sign he was trying to run. The man in tears swears he's trying to pay it all back. Then, the loan shark pulls out scissors. Holding them up, he questions if the man is telling the truth. Are you really trying to settle this debt? We found you at a casino and dragged you here. Desperate, the man claims, I was at the casino trying to win the money. With just one jackpot, I could have paid off the entire debt. I even dreamed of my ancestors. I feel like something big is about to happen in my life, he pleads, but the loan shark just grabs the debtor's hand, and with those scissors, he starts to squeeze his finger. Absolutely terrified, the man begs for just a little more time to pay off the loan. The loan shark just retorts that even when the debtor had a job, he never paid a cent. Debt, planning to settle it all through a gamble. He then asks if anyone here looks like an idiot to him. The henchman grabs the man's hand and says that this will sting a little bit, but assures him that he's a master in this field, promising a clean and precise cut. The man begs for forgiveness, but no one is listening to him, and one of his fingers gets chopped off. After that, the henchman says that what's happening at this very moment is extremely important. The man will have 1 hour to get the money. After that, the finger will be returned so it can be reattached. He orders the man to run out of there. And in tears, he obeys. The boss asks his henchman if he's happy to add another finger to his collection. The henchman replies that he doesn't really like this type of low-quality finger, but admits it has been a long time since he's felt that kind of emotion. And this is the guy their burly friend has in mind for the fight. Now pay attention, because this dude is on another level. His name is Yoongai Sunbai, the same guy who once cut off the finger of a student from their own class who played guitar. His friend can only say that this guy is way too crazy. He goes on saying that after the incident, he served time in a juvenile facility and became a full-blown gangster after he got out. Kim Jin-woo, looking way too cheerful, asks if there's any way to actually meet the guy. Even his burly friend who came up with the idea is shocked that he actually wants to call him. The other boy is just excited for a fight between the Sunbai, who is now a gangster and their own invincible transfer student. He says that they're not in any position to be picky about whether he's a gangster or a killer. They just need to make their move, so while they're planning this whole thing, the four friends head out to grab some dinner somewhere. You and I are watching them plan a war over some street food. Hung complains he doesn't like going out, but Doyle retorts, "You can't rot in the shop every day." Doyle then mentions that at some point in the past, Hung used to be on a stage. The boy replies, "It's been a long time." Aram intervenes, "It was just a phase," but Doyle then asks, "Are you in a band?" "I mean, you're such a great guitarist." He then totally changes the subject, asking, "Would you prefer street food or Chinese food?" A car passes and spots the four of them walking down the street. Inside are the loan shark and his henchmen. The loan shark asks his driver to stop for a bit, saying he has some friends he wants to greet nearby. He gets out of the car, warning them that he will be right back. Then he starts yelling, calling out for Hung by name. As he gets closer, he says, "Seeing you, I wasn't so sure, but now I can confirm that it's you," as the man speaks about their past. The boy starts to panic, backing away until he bumps right into Doyle, who holds him, trying to understand the situation. The gangster asks, "Have you seen a ghost or something? Why so scared?" The man approaches the two young men and comments, "You seem close, which is good to see." Suddenly he asks, "Why are you paralyzed? I'm very happy to see you." He keeps going, reminding him of the long time since they last saw each other, and then asking, "Aren't you going to greet me?" "Excuse me, Gunb." One of the young men apologizes, explaining that they were on their way to eat something. In a harsh tone, he adds, "If this conversation continues, we'll lose our appetite." "Oof, trust me, that was the wrong thing to say." Guy stays silent for a moment. Then with a smile, he takes out his wallet and offers to pay for their meal, justifying it with, "It's been a while." He then shoves the money into the young man's pocket, telling them, "Eat some meat." Students usually don't have enough money. Turning to Byengu, Guy smirks, "Our destinies just keep crossing, don't they? And stick with me, because what he pulls from his pocket is just pure evil." "I ran all the way here just to give you this," he says, finally revealing the item. "I got it today and, well, I thought you might really need it." The other two guys just watch in shock. Byengu finally shoves him, breaking free. But Guy just offers the object like a twisted gift, telling him to take it to the hospital. He tells him to talk to the staff, to ask them to reattach his finger. "That way you can play the guitar again." He says it with a cruel, mocking tone. Then he screams at him, "Tell them it's your dream." His friends just stand there, frozen. The blue-haired young man can't watch anymore. He turns his head away. And the scene cuts to that same night, showing him with his back turned to us. Someone calls out to him, using the name Jibin. The man asks him a question. Getting used to the neighborhood seems like you're not. He advises him to be grateful to the people who try to get close, since making friends isn't easy. He continues, saying these people broke through the great wall he built around himself. His wall of silence, and he promises they'll become precious people on his journey. Hearing that, the young man's entire expression changes, and we flash back to the present. And you and I both know what's coming. He reaches out and grabs Guy's wrist. Guy whips around to face him. Jibin just stares back, not even blinking. And who the hell is this fool? Guy asks coldly, who can't read the room. Instantly, Jibin moves to grab him, but Guy is faster, twisting his wrist back. You've got some nerve being so arrogant, Guy sneers, looking down at his hand. At least your fingers are beautiful, he says. Then the threat comes, cold as ice. Interfere again, and you might just lose them too. He lets go of Jibin's hand. Understand, Jibin stumbles, taking a step back from the pure venom. Son of a bitch, Guy spits, the insult hanging in the air. Are you looking for trouble? He snarls, calling him an arrogant bastard. In the background, a car horn honks, making him glance at the street for a second. Then he turns back to Bayangu on the ground. How's life without any dreams? With a twisted laugh, Guy faces the group and wishes them all a good meal. Then he just casually walks off down the street. Bayangu is still on his knees. He completely collapses to the ground. His friend rushes to his side, screaming his name. Lying on the pavement, Bayangu just asks if the others are okay. The group gathers around him. He tries to get up, assuring them that it's all in the past. He insists that he's fine now. Bayangu suggests they go home for the night. We can eat out some other time. The young man with the piercing just says his name, Bayangu Hyung. Later, on a rooftop, Kang Doyle is furious with himself for just freezing up. I couldn't do a single thing, he yells into the night. In the end, nothing changed. Now pay attention, because the girl asks the question we're all thinking, who was that man? The answer is chilling. That's Yoonggait, the man who cut off Bayangu Hyung's finger. While he was playing the guitar, Jibin adds that he did it just for one reason. To completely shatter his friend's dream. It all started because Bayangu was just trying to stop that monster and his gang from hurting people, and the scene shifts. We're thrown into the past, into a music room, and there's Guy holding a knife on a girl. He's ordering her to shut up before he kills her. Just then, someone grabs him from behind. Behind him, Bayangu screams for Yoongai to stop, while Gidai struggles to break free. He ignores Bayangu's pleas to stop, and then Guy attacks him with a knife. Bayangu throws his hands up to his face, trying to block the vicious blow. Guy spins around, screaming, questioning why on earth he dared to interfere. He just keeps shouting, asking him why he has to be so damn nosy. Then he warns him not to act superior, just because he can play the guitar. Staring him down, Bayangu says that Yoongai doesn't deserve to be in a place like this. He explains that this is where dreams are born, and Guy is someone who only destroys them. He says that anyone who crushes others for their own selfish desires is worthless. Someone like him, he declares, doesn't even deserve to have a dream. Confused and furious, Gait asks what kind of nonsense he's spouting now. Raising the knife high, he completely dismisses the very idea of a dream. Turning to the students at the door, he yells, asking what they're all staring at. And now pay attention, this is the moment that changes everything. He threatens to cut every single one of them into pieces if they don't move. He shoves his way through the crowd and storms down the hallway alone. The other students rush over to Bangu, helping him up as one calls for a teacher. Back in the present, Jibin explains that after that day, Guy never returned to school. He thought that was the end of it, but he was wrong. Something far more terrible happened just 2 weeks later, when a piercing scream echoed from the band room. In the past, Bayangu freezes dead in his tracks when he hears that chilling sound. Opening the door, Jibin calls out, Bangu Hyang. With pliers in his hand, Guy tells him to keep up that superior attitude of his now. As Bayangu walks in, Guy orders him to come closer and see the reality of a dream. Then Geit begins ranting about a life where dreams mean absolutely nothing. Jibin reveals that witnessing that moment, he was paralyzed with fear once again. Sitting on the other boy, Guy turns and casually asks Doyle when he got there. Standing up, he comments that he feels much better now, completely refreshed. He warns Jibin, declaring that if he tells anyone what he saw here today, he'll suffer the exact same fate. And trust me, you can feel the absolute terror. Guy says goodbye and just leaves, abandoning a traumatized Jibin in the room. Motionless, the young man can't even move from the spot where he stands. Returning to the present, Jibin explains that Yoongai dropped out of school right after. He continues, saying the other boy was sent to a reformatory and became a gangster there. With a bitter tone, Jibin confirms he's now a loan shark for a criminal organization. He then says the reason the man he knew is gone is all because of Jong Gadai. Jibin reveals that he swore to himself that day, with every fiber of his being, that a person who destroys another's dream cannot be allowed to walk free. Kneeling, he cries out that he wanted to get strong enough to make him feel the exact same suffering that Byung-gu had to endure. But he froze up all over again. He whispers that he thought he'd become stronger, but in the end, nothing changed. The girl asks if that's the real reason he wanted to hire Jibin for the job. You and I can see the desperation as he confirms that his enemy is a real gangster. All right, stick with me. We're about to see how far someone will go for revenge. He wants to crush him, make him pay for every last thing he did. Jibin looks at him. This is why I needed you, Jeoni. For a long moment, there's only silence. All right, stick with me here. Later, he's walking down the street with the girl when she finally speaks. She says she understands the situation, but she has to warn him about who they're dealing with. He's a straight-up gangster. She asks if getting revenge on a guy like that isn't just suicide. But a certain part of Doyle's story had really hit home for our main character. The idea that anyone who destroys another person's dream should never be allowed to walk free. Staring straight ahead, Jibin tells her this isn't about personal feelings. This isn't revenge, it's justice. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a girl reminds Yena about her plans. Her birthday is coming up, and a classmate asks if she'd remembered the date. Yana's friend immediately asks if she's throwing a party and where it's going to be. Then comes the real question, is she going to invite Jin too? Yana hesitates. She worries he'd feel awkward, but her friend is quick to reassure her. He's not going to just ignore you on your birthday. Then, the friend points out the window. And guess who it is? Jibin is right there, walking through the courtyard. He's with Aram. One of the other girls asks, isn't that Han Aram from the next class? You know, the one who never says a word. Just then, two other boys approach and greet them. Yana watches this, annoyed. Why is Ariam suddenly the center of everyone's attention? She turns away, telling herself it's none of her business. Later on, a group of guys asks Jibin to grab them school lunch because the bread they have just isn't enough. Suddenly, Ariam appears at the door. One of the boys asks her what she's doing there. Holding up a bag, she says she wants to eat lunch with them. Jibin just stares at her. One of the guys cheers, of course you can. Then he pauses, his eyes wide. Wait a second, did you just talk? He asks, completely stunned. Soon they're all admiring her lunch. They can't believe it, asking if she actually made it herself. Ariam offers to share some. An offer they are more than happy to accept. From a distance, Yana watches them all. Now pay attention, because elsewhere, we meet a guy named Guy, deep in a sketchy phone call. He tells the woman on the other end to transfer the money, but the second she says her husband's back. He hangs up, cold, no goodbye. He approaches a door and keeps moving. Guy finds a business card stuck in the doorframe and casually picks it up. Stepping inside, he announces his return to the boss, as three young men watch him. The guys immediately start sizing him up, commenting on his strength and that he took the card. One of them nervously asks if it's smart to recruit a gangster. Another just scoffs. There's nothing to be afraid of. They're just the cancer of society, pure trash. And here's the moment everything goes wrong. A man turns slowly. What did you just say? He repeats their words. Cancer of society. Trash. At that, Kim Jin-woo turns around. The boss of the room looks totally bewildered and asks who these kids even are. One of his men clarifies they were talking trash about gangsters in general. The boss looks surprised. He asks the boys if by gangsters they were referring to them. One of the young men gets defensive, insisting they're just small business owners who pay taxes. The boss presses him, then what about us made you think we look like gangsters? The question hangs in the air. The kid just freezes up, totally speechless. He can't get a word out. In his head, though, he's screaming that it's completely obvious. The boss steps closer. Why the silence? Are you here to ask for a loan? The young man flinches back, denying it instantly. That's when Guy holds something out. He shows them the business card. Does this belong to you? And you and I both know the answer just changed everything. And that's why they're here, to hand over this mysterious card. Guy asks what hound dog even is, but the boss just cuts him off. He says he's heard that name before. Another man in the room suggests it's Duck's business. The boss confirms it, an illegal gambling operation. A place where people bet on underground fights, and the young man confirms. It all clicks. They recruit skilled fighters to make them a ton of money. Kim suddenly wonders if the people behind Hound Dog are actually gangsters. He realizes he's stumbled into a business run by the criminal underworld. Elsewhere, Doyle finds Jibin and asks if he knows how to ride a motorcycle. When Jibin asks why, Doyle replies that he owns one himself and needs him to be the one to drive it. REM asks why Jibin has to drive. Doyle calmly explains he twisted his ankle earlier in gym class. Tossing a helmet to Jibin, he asks for a ride. Where are we going? She asks. Doyle says it's not far and that he'll give directions along the way. He turns to her, promising he'll bring her boyfriend back safely. No, Ariam quickly shuts that down, insisting they're just friends. Silent, Jibin just holds the helmet, telling Byung-gu that Doyle just needs some fresh air. And with that, the two of them leave, heading toward the motorcycle. Doyle asks if he can handle it. Jibin's answer, he pops a wheelie. Doyle's impressed. As they ride through the city, he mentions that Jibin has already caused a whole lot of trouble. Then he urgently warns him, slow down. Sharp turn ahead, but with absolute precision. Jibin nails the turn perfectly. Doyle asks if he just used countersteering. Now pay attention. Doyle is thinking what we're all thinking. Who is this kid? Arriving at their destination, Doyle asks to be dropped off. Jibin stares at the building's sign. Doyle then crouches down, picking up a brick from the ground, holding it up to his ear like a phone, as if he's making a call. He says it out loud, if you hadn't driven me. I might have hesitated and turned back just like I did last time. He stares at the building. This is me promising not to hold back, and we all know what that means. Jibin understands immediately. This is a declaration of war. That bastard made Byung-gu wet himself. A guy who used to lead a band, urinated right in the middle of the street. He turns to Jibin. You think I should just let that go? He states, I have to do this. He stares at Jibin with a tense expression, waiting for a response. Back at the office, the boss is telling Kim, this place isn't for kids like you. But Kim explains he heard rumors and that he recognizes his senior, Jong Guy. The same guy who dropped out of high school and became a gangster. Kim explains they're preparing for a massive fight. The main event, and they came for him because they believe he is the right man for the job. Guy scoffs, are you trying to recruit me for some schoolyard brawl? But the young man insists this opponent is skilled, he can't be underestimated. And you can see it in his eyes, Guy is interested. Trust me, you'll want to see what's next. Baying his opponent. The kid hands over his phone, explaining that it's some transfer student who's a real pain to deal with. At the mention, let me introduce you to the new transfer student who's got Guy completely hooked. His name is Jison, and the video shows him landing a clean hit on his opponent. The recording keeps playing, showing off his moves from a previous fight. And the footage ends with a close-up right on Jion's face. Watching the screen, Guy suddenly recognizes the kid. He remembers that boy. The one with Doyle, the one with those unforgettable fingers, back in the present. Guy's boss warns him, don't get involved, it's just a high school squabble. Now watch this. Guy agrees with his boss, accepting the order. Then, a brick smashes through the window. It flies right past his face, and a shard of glass cuts his cheek. He spins around, furious, yelling, "Who the hell did that?" Rushing to the window, his boss shouts, asking if they have a death wish. The two look down at the street and see a motorcycle speeding away. Through the shattered glass, Guy follows its every move. The bike just keeps accelerating, disappearing down the road. His boss asks if he's okay, but Guy doesn't even answer. Riding the motorcycle, Jion thinks it might have been a bit much. But he knows how much courage that took. Doyle's hand trembles on his shoulder. He can feel the kid's fear, like a massive mountain crushing down on them. And yeah, he knows that feeling all too well as they tear down the road. After Guy agrees to join the hound dog fight, the students thank him profusely. They promise they'll give it their all, but Guy has his own conditions. He'll pick the time and place, and they can only bring their single best fighter. One of the students suggests using the school gym, the original location. But Guy shuts him down hard, asking, "What do you take me for? You think I'd fight in a school?" The kid immediately agrees to the terms, realizing the venue is changing. He can see just how serious Guy is about this. Then, Guy asks something else. "You know a guy named Kang Doyle, and here's where we get the real story." The student knows the name. He's a bully from Dasan Industrial, a freshman. Guy thinks to himself, wondering if that little punk has gotten that big. The student adds that he heard Kang Doyle is expanding his territory. Then he asks why the sudden interest in him, Guy. With a look of pure determination, Guy orders them, find out where that punk is. He declares that the kid has a serious debt to pay him. Elsewhere, Jion is sweeping a temple courtyard, pausing to greet his master. The master returns the greeting and welcomes his new visitors. He asks, "Are you here to pray?" And Sangmin confirms, yes. Sangmin explains that his mother said it was the first of the month. It had been a while, so she told him to pray at the temple. "An excellent idea," the master replies, but Sangmin is surprised by something. He spots Jion and asks, "Are you living here now?" Sitting down, Sangmin says he thought Jion lived in the dorms. He mentions visiting this same temple as a kid. He then calls a friend. He tells him that Jion is staying at Sabom Temple and invites him over. The friend says he's on his way and asks him to buy some good food. Someone calls out Jibin's name. Sangmin greets the newcomer as Jibin turns to see. "And who is it?" "The man, Ariam." The young guy quickly explains to Jibin. "I messaged Ariam and invited her to join us," and Ariam just gives a little nod. Sangmin asks if she's all right. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a group of guys are crowded around a scooter, trying to figure out what's wrong. One of them guesses it's a spark plug problem, while another one chimes in. He wonders from his chair, "You think it could be the coil instead." Someone finally suggests just taking the scooter to a mechanic, but another complains. "Think about how much that's gonna cost." But get this, their money problems are about to get a lot worse. A man named Guy slips on a pair of brass knuckles, commenting on the size of their group. He says he's using these to avoid wasting any time. Classic intimidation tactic. One of the guys, not taking the hint, steps up asking what he's talking about. "I'm here to collect a debt," Guy says, straight to the point. But the guy insists he identify himself before any fighting starts. Big mistake. Without a single word, Guy slams a punch right into the guy's face. Down he goes. He groans on the ground. Another member asks who the hell this guy is. Guy's answer, another fist straight to the second man's face, who collapses instantly. And then there was one. The last guy standing stares at the weapon on Guy's hand. He nervously mutters that the effect of those brass knuckles is devastating. Guy turns his cold gaze on him, saying he'd make a perfect human punching bag. The young man called out by Guy threatens him back, promising to finish him. But Guy just smiles. These guys still haven't figured out who they're dealing with. The man screams for Guy to shut up and charges in for an attack. He yells that a guy like him only needs one good hit. He throws a punch and misses. Guy dodges with ease and, seeing his opening, strikes the opponent's face. He immediately follows up with another punch, sending the man stumbling back. Bloodied and beaten, he retreats, but Guy just smiles and invites him for more. The man knows he's outmatched, but he accepts the challenge anyway. Guy takes a firm stance and says, "Come on then, bring it." The guy boasts about his size and prepares to show what he's made of. And you know what? Doyle finally snaps, grabbing a nearby metal pipe for backup. We cut back to see the guy in the green tracksuit is already down for the count. Guy looks down on him, saying there's not much you can do when you're slow. Doyle raises the pipe high above his head and brings it down with everything he has. He screams "die" as he swings, but Guy just crosses his arms and blocks the blow. Staring him down, Guy asks Kang Doyle a simple question: "Are you ready?" Doyle just stares back in silence. Guy, still holding the pipe, asks him again, "Are you ready?" Then he shouts Doyle's name, challenging his nerve. With everything he has, Kang Doyle faces his aggressor, but Guy just scoffs. "You're still the same trembling coward you've always been," he says. But Doyle raises the pipe again and tells Guy to shut his mouth. Guy vows that Doyle will never beat him, accusing him of just watching as Byunggu's finger was cut off. Doyle can only curse the whole damn situation. Guy, completely unfazed, gives an order. Kneel, and Kang Doyle does it. Guy states that this is his rightful place. And that's where we leave them. Guy tells him to lift his head, asking how. Of his name, Jong Guy explodes. "How dare you raise a pipe?" In the next instant, he smashes it over Doyle's head for defying a senior. He orders the poor kid to raise his head, then cracks him in the face, calling him a worm. Kang Doyle crumples to the floor as Young Guy demands he beg for mercy. Broken, Kang Doyle surrenders. Meanwhile, in a serene temple, people are praying. A young woman, Han Aram, carefully serves a meal to the group. One of the guys notes, "I've never seen you here before." She just smiles and replies, "This is our first time here." The man warmly invites them back, saying, "Please return more often." While washing dishes, Sunoman comments to Jibin, "Looks like Ariam really enjoys the atmosphere." Another one of the boys, struggling with a heavy vase, complains he's the only one doing hard labor. A monk praises their hard work, but Sunoman just says, "Hey, I gotta at least earn my meal." The monk chuckles, telling them he plans to invite them back more often and to rest up before they leave. As night falls, one of them sighs, "Man, the day went by fast. This break did us good." Two of the boys ask Jibin if they can come back to the temple occasionally to help. One admits, "This place just brings me a sense of peace." Sunoman jokes, "You're starting to look like a monk in training." A moment later, Sun Man himself wonders, "Maybe I should pursue this path." Suddenly, a shout, "Fire." The scream rips through the quiet night, sending everyone into a panic. Jibin and his friend rush outside, trying to see where the noise is coming from. A monk is already putting out the flames, while someone guesses it must have been a stray cigarette butt. A man laments how careless people can be. But the monk just soothes them, "At least we caught it in time." He tries to calm everyone down, but Sunoman admits, "That seriously scared me." One of the others adds, "I felt like I lost 10 years off my life." Sunoman shudders, this could have been a total disaster. Just then, Jian notices something. A business card for Hound Dog is stuck to the door, and you and I both know that was not there before. In a flash, Jibin sees a vision of a battered Kang Doyle, begging him not to come find him. He pleads over and over, his voice filled with desperation. Cut to a car. A man in glasses asks his subordinate if he's finished setting up the match. The kid on the street confirms he's prepped both sides, framing it as a gangster versus a transfer student. The man in the back seat confirms the gangster's name, Jong Gai. He asks for a lighter, and the woman beside him adds that the gangster is from Dai's Industrial Technical School. As their car pulls away, the man asks which gang he belongs to. The answer comes back: he's with the Jackdo Association. The man in charge murmurs the name to himself, as if tasting it. But the kid on the street cuts him off, stating that he knows the man is also under Jackdo's management. He continues, saying that Jong Gai is fired up and ready to go all out in the match. Now the boss is questioning everything. Is the Jackdo Association sending in their own players to rig the game? He quickly realizes there's no way for him to really know for sure. Refuse an opportunity this huge. The young man was ordered to announce the upcoming match to everyone, building up as much hype as possible. But he all right, stick with me, because this story is about to take a seriously dark turn. His answer: he's obviously backing the Jodo Association. Meanwhile, somewhere else, deep in a forest, we see Jin running hard along a secluded path, pushing himself. He moves through the trees at a steady pace, finally reaching a viewpoint. He stretches with a high kick, preparing his mind, vowing to fight as hard as possible. No matter what happens, he's going all out. His determination is set in stone. He will get strong enough that no one can ever threaten him again. But then, his friends show up out of nowhere. Turns out the monk told them he'd be here. One of them jokes that the tough climb was worth it, while another begs for chocolate. Han Ariam is just trying to catch her breath, panting hard from the climb. Sunman reminds Jian how important this day is, and the other friend admits he came. He was worried about him. They all promise to cheer him on with everything they've got. They'll be screaming their lungs out, regardless of who he's up against. Iram agrees. She'll be cheering for him too. With his friends behind him, Jian's resolve hardens. When they finally get to the fight location, one of them just points ahead, speechless. The atmosphere here is absolutely electric. Sunman is stunned by the whole setup. Okay, pay attention. They realize the fight is taking place in a place like this. He's trembling and doesn't even know why. Another friend asks if Jian is okay. But his friend shows zero hesitation. Sunman has to wonder if their cheers even reached him. Standing guard in front of a huge warehouse are several men, waiting in total silence. As the group approaches, the fight organizer steps out to greet Jian personally. He says it's an honor that he arrived on time, keeping a friendly, cordial tone. But as he points, one of Jian's friends accuses the man of making threats. He calls him out for threatening Jian by starting that fire. The man looks confused. He asks what he's talking about, and his partner insists he has no idea what's going on. He tells Jian to ignore the details and focus on the fight, leaving his friend furious. Building up the hype, the organizer explains that expectations for this are through the roof. And he gives a serious warning: do not underestimate the opponent for a second. He demands Jian fight with everything he has. Then a voice bellows, "Open the gate." The massive gate creaks open, and Jian and his friends can only stare right inside. Inside the warehouse, a massive crowd is cheering like their lives depend on it. Staring at the wild audience, they can feel the crushing weight of the atmosphere. Then, from the other side of the arena, someone calls out Jian's name. With his back turned, Yong'ai himself announces that he's been waiting for him. Turning slowly, the gangster says that Jian should know who he is because of Doyle. Facing his enemy, the boy settles into his stance. Ariam reacts in total shock. Sunman asks if she knows this person, and then the truth bomb finally drops. I know what you're thinking, and yes, someone reveals Yong'ai is a real gangster. He declares it's time to finish what they started that day, radiating pure confidence. But first, he announces a special guest, someone he says Jian will be happy to see. And when it's revealed, both Jian and Ariam stare at the scene, holding their breath. Chained up in the center is Kang Doyle, telling Jian he never should have come. He says he didn't want to be seen like this, begging him again and again to leave. Covering her mouth, Ariam cries out Doyle's name in pure despair. His friends are confused. You and I are left asking the same thing they are. What is going on here? Jongai asks Jian if he knows why Doyle ended up in this mess. Silence. Jian can't answer, promising revenge for everything he's been through. Jongai then asks if he really wants to protect this guy. He reveals the key is in his pocket, offering it up if Jian can beat him. But if he wins, well, stick with me, because his condition is absolutely twisted. Jian's friends freak out, immediately trying to shut the whole thing down. But Jongai calmly states that none of them are interested in just money. He declares that if he wins, he'll take 2 of Jian's fingers. Yeah, you heard that right. Horrified, his friends call the condition completely absurd. They try to stop the fight, screaming that the deal is unacceptable. They say the opponent is clearly a psychopath, and Han Ariam warns him. That this man is truly cruel. A quick flashback recalls the day Doyle's hands trembled just holding onto a motorcycle. The memory reveals Byengu was so terrified of Jongai, he actually peed his pants. Back in the present, the gangster asks if Jian is afraid yet. Jian realizes this guy's influence alone is enough to make people tremble. But as he takes off his jacket, he declares he can't hold back any longer. His friends can't believe it, asking if he's actually going to fight him. Jongai smiles with excitement, appreciating the young man's stance. Jian steps into the center of the arena, preparing for combat. The crowd goes absolutely wild, while his friends can only watch in fear. Facing each other in the center, the two are surrounded by spectators. With a megaphone, the announcer declares the fight is about to start. He tells everyone to place their bets, and trust me, you don't want to miss this. First competitor up, he calls Jongai the powerhouse of the underworld. Next, he announces Jian, the transfer student who already defeated a champion. He hypes the audience, asking who they think the winner will be. The atmosphere is electric. A countdown begins, and in the control room a man with glasses is monitoring every single detail. He sees the over 2,000 live spectators, commenting that the stage is perfectly set. He orders them to fight until blood is spilled, and with that, the match begins. Jongai charges forward without a moment's hesitation. He launches the first attack, a brutal knee strike to Jian's head. But Jian blocks the next attack and counters with a kick, creating space. The crowd continues to cheer wildly as Jongai prepares his next move. He adjusts his stance, defending himself from a quick flurry of Jian's punches. Jian follows every single blow attentively. His speed and strength are above average. But he's never learned any real boxing or martial arts. A raw street fighter with an insane physique, you and I know he's no easy opponent. Are you scared? Jongai roars in fury. Jian advances without hesitation, landing a direct punch to his opponent's ribs. He feels the impact. It was a clean and effective blow. But Jongai reacts instantly, striking Jian square in the face with a punch. That only tickled, he comments, daring Jian to keep coming. Jian considers his enemy's reaction speed, instinctively looking for an opening. Despite his natural talent, Jibin was just getting overwhelmed. The kid fought back hard, landing another solid kick to Gidai's face. Is that supposed to be a massage? Zhang Gidai sneered, totally unfazed. You really think that's enough to take me down? He asked. Let me show you reality. With a shout, he launched his own attack, but with every hit, Jibin's rage just grew. The crowd was a deafening roar, chanting Zhang Gai's name over and over. So who's actually winning this? One of Jibin's friends asked, looking worried. His guard is starting to crumble, the other pointed out, watching closely. He continued his analysis. The guy's physique is on another level. If Jibin takes one clean shot, it's game over. One of them explained Jibin's strategy, wear him down, stack up the damage. But as for Guy, he's just looking for that one-hit knockout, relying on pure power. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. If Jibin gets hit clean, it's all over, Ariam whispered. But then a voice cut through the noise. It was Kang Doyle calling out to her. He was still chained up, and she immediately ran towards him. Ariam left the ringside, her focus shifting completely. "You have to stop him," Doyle pleaded. "Why on earth did you bring Jibin here?" he demanded. She explained he had no choice. "They threatened to burn down the temple where he lived. Damn them all," he growled. "Just free me, I need the key," he repeated, pulling at his chains. "The key is with Jongai," she said, trying to make him see it was impossible. "I don't care, I'll find a way to get it," Doyle shot back. "That man is a snake." "You never know what he's planning." Ariam had to agree, struggling to stay calm. The exchange of blows in the ring was getting more and more brutal. Her gaze snapped back to the arena, Han Ariam watching every single move. Jibin landed a heavy hit. "That's it, keep it up," one of his friends yelled. He kept the pressure on, hammering away at Jongai. "This is his chance, go." The shouts from his corner urged him on. "Show him what you've got, hit him, harder." They screamed and the boy charged forward, right into Jongai's range. "But now, watch this. I was waiting for this exact moment," the fighter revealed. "For you to get in close, self-defense techniques don't work on the streets." He roared and unleashed a devastating punch. Jibin knew he'd walked into a trap. In the face of overwhelming power, technique means nothing. The hit landed square on his face, snapping Jibin's head back violently. "Gi Jibin," his friends screamed, their faces a mask of disbelief. "This is the wall of reality," Jungei declared, pressing his attack. "I've fought on the cold, hard asphalt," he stated. "You think a sheltered kid like you can beat me?" He taunted him, "Know your place." Then, "Goodbye," Guy said, leaning in for the finish. Jibin's vision started to blur, but in that instant, a memory surfaced. A girl holding his face, begging him, "Cheer up, please, see this through." Her voice echoed in his head, "I love you," and his heart hammered in his chest. Driven by a sudden surge of energy, Jibin forced himself back to his feet. "Regain your senses," Hanarim shouted, but the boy's eyes were locked on his opponent. He immediately threw up his arms, blocking Jongatai's next punch. "You tough bastard," the aggressor grunted, stunned that he was still standing. And that's our moment. Jibin faced his rival and unleashed a brutal counterattack, sending Guy flying back. "All right, stick with me, because this fight just became deadly serious." Jibin's friends can't believe it. Nobody is kidding around now. As for Jong Guy, he's feeling it too. It's been a long time since he's felt a rush like this. The dopamine is surging. "You're better than I imagined," he admits, "but you're still just a school snack." And with that, he charges. Jibin counters, landing a solid kick on his opponent. Facing him down, Yungatai explains that gangsters simply cannot afford to lose. He states plainly, "The moment we lose, we die." Guy roars back, "I will never let you win." And he smashes a fist right into Jibin's face. "He's a complete zombie," one of his friends yells. The fight is escalating, getting way more intense. The two of them are just relentless. They continue trading blows, but Jibin's friends notice his style has changed. He's not defending himself anymore. He's dodging every single attack. Jibin evades another punch. The aggressor curses, consumed by pure frustration, but then one of the friends spots something. He points at Jibin, standing motionless. The kid has completely dropped his guard. Everyone is stunned, calling him a loser. Guy rushes in to attack, but Jian is waiting. He lands a perfect punch right on the gangster's chin. Kang Doyle starts to realize. Jian has already deciphered his opponent's entire pattern, concluding that Guy's attacks are sloppy. His movements are obvious, only aiming for one-punch knockouts. Jian saw it all coming. He anticipated every attack, and now he knows Guy's weakness. After a dodge, he unleashes. A full-force kick slams right into the aggressor, then the scene cuts to the gangster. He's holding a piece of wood, and right here is where this fight gets dirty. Yungatai curses and points the makeshift club at Jian, but our boy just stares him down. He roars that the real fight is only just beginning, right at this very instant. Declaring the rules of the game no longer matter, he completely changes the atmosphere. Jian's friends instantly call him a coward for cheating. I mean, can you blame them? Even the announcer emphasizes that using a weapon is a clear violation of the rules. But Guy just tells the losers to shut their mouths, asking if this looks like a game to them. He then dares anyone in the audience to step up if they have a problem with it. Turning back to Jian, he tells him to finish this contest. This is no game. This is a real fight between the two of us, Guy agrees. A real fight. Guy bellows, charging straight at the young man, promising to absolutely crush him. The aggressor attacks with the wooden plank, daring Jian to come at him. His friends can only watch the scene, shouting about the blatant cheating. "Don't get involved with gangsters, you brat," he yells, but Jian is ready. He blocks the attack with a kick and immediately slams another into his opponent's head. Zhang Guy hits the ground, utterly defeated by Jian. The spectators start murmuring. They say he's finished, calling him pathetic for a gangster. At that moment, something drops. Kang Duel's keychain slips and clatters onto the ground. Han Aram notices it. "It's not over yet," Guy states, struggling back up. "I won't stop until one of us is annihilated." He roars. Jian rushes towards his rival and delivers a crushing, direct blow. He hits him again, sending him right back to the ground. "I can't lose to a failure like you." Guy protests, kneeling on the floor. Jian just stares down at him. "You have no reason to feel wronged," Jian replies. "You're nothing but a bully to the weak. You must have felt so superior destroying other people's dreams, but that doesn't make you strong. Live in mediocrity for the rest of your life." He absolutely condemns his rival. But suddenly, Zhang Guy pulls out a knife. The aggressor gets up and tries again. "All right, stick with me here. We're watching a cheater get a serious dose of instant karma." "Look behind you," one of Jian's friends screams, trying to warn him. "You should never turn your back on a gangster," Guy taunts, closing in with the knife. He slams Jian to the ground, pinning him down for the final attack. "I'm going to annihilate you," Guy promises. "You'll regret ever crossing me." "Every time you look in the mirror," the attacker threatens, raising the weapon high. "I'm the ultimate winner here," he declares, soaking in the moment. But just when it looks hopeless, a flash of fire smacks Guy right in the face. It's Kang Doyle, wielding a flaming board, and he completely immobilizes him. Doyle turns to Jian and asks if he's okay. Jian just gives a quick nod. Aram is stunned, wondering how Doyle got loose, until her friend points out that she did it. Kang Doyle stares back at Jian. "You mind if I finish this?" He sits on top of Guy and just starts breaking his fingers. "Wait," Jian yells. "Don't continue," Guy pleads from the ground. "Why?" Doyle asks coldly. "Stop it, you brat," Guy begs. Doyle just reminds him, "You did the same thing." "But I'm different," Guy claims desperately. "Why?" Doyle asks again, dead calm. "I'm in a different class," he spits, turning his face away with arrogance. "Just one more left," Kang Doyle warns, before snapping another one of his fingers. As Doyle gets ready to break the last finger, Guy screams for him to wait. He unleashes a torrent of insults, calling him a bastard and boasting he's a real gangster. Then he threatens him, warning that his boss will have him killed for this. Kang Doyle is completely unfazed, and why would you go tell your boss? He calls the threat childish, and that's when the match organizer bursts in. "Now I know what you're thinking. The adults are here to stop the show, right? Wrong." We see Jian physically blocking the man, while Doyle doesn't even move off Guy. The organizer demands to know if Jian is aware of his actions and can handle the fallout. Kang Doyle casually looks over his shoulder. Jian turns to look back at him. Their eyes meet, and Doyle just cracks a little smile. "Please don't, I'm a veteran," Guy begs. Kang Doyle just scoffs in disgust. "Now you just look even more pathetic. I feel ashamed for ever being complacent with you." Then he breaks Guy's last finger. A girl in the crowd gasps in horror. The entire audience is just shocked into silence by the brutal scene. This confrontation is invalid, the organizer declares, claiming the situation is pure chaos. But the crowd roars back, arguing the gangster was the one who broke the rules first. A gambler who bet on the gangster even has to admit that Jian won. Soon, the entire venue begins to chant for Jian's victory as the organizer glares. Jian's friends scream out. Everyone saw the opponent's defeat. The crowd just keeps chanting his name. Jian, standing next to Doyle, looks over his shoulder. Back in his office, the man with the glasses is in full-on panic mode. He realizes the entire situation has spiraled far beyond his expectations. Jian defeated a gangster from the Jokto Association during a peak viewership slot. A stunt like that is going to turn the entire Jokto Association into a laughingstock. He can already feel the financial loss coming, and he pins all the blame on Jian. He curses the outcome, scrambling to figure out how he's going to handle this disaster. Just then, a black car approaches the scene. Inside, the driver is reporting to the real boss. "Stick with me because you're about to see some street justice you won't expect." Jong Gai emerges from the warehouse, and the driver reports that Gidai is already gone. His superior just orders him to turn off the car. Then Jong Gidai runs up to the vehicle, screaming for his boss, "Help me, those bastards. They jumped me, the guys are still inside, you can catch them if you go now." He desperately pleads for help, but his superior just punches him. Right in the head, then kicks him away. Jong Gai collapses to the ground, crying out for his boss. And here's where it gets twisted. Didn't I warn you about fighting students? The man asks him. Guy tries to defend himself, just gurgling incoherently. His boss just kicks him again, beating him while he's on the ground. As Guy chokes out apologies, Jian and his friends watch the whole scene. He acts like a gangster, but in reality, he's a total nobody. Kang Doyle says he thanks Jian and then gives his thanks to the others. Han Aram cuts in though, saying, "You all need to get checked out." She insists they head to a hospital, but Doyle just brushes her off. "I just need a few days of rest," he says, walking away with Jibin, looking for his agreement. In a flashback, Jibin thinks about when he'll finally be able to forget the one person who could make his heart race or stop completely. A group of students walks down the street. In a classroom, a teacher yells out, "Don't doze off." And then two girls corner Han Ariam. "Okay, brace yourselves, because the high school drama is about to explode." Yena asks her straight up, "Are you planning on dating him?" Ariam hesitates, which makes Yena remind her that she knows all about Ariam's feelings for Jibin. But Ariam claims it is something more than just dating. The other girl asks, "What do you mean by that?" She explains she feels this deep curiosity about Jibin, and she wants to know everything there is to know about him. One girl calls her a liar and accuses her of trying to seduce Jian. Then she brings up the history between Yana and Jibin. Han Ariam just repeats, "We are just talking." Yana slaps her right across the face. "Stop playing games," she demands. "I will not give Jibin to you," she declares. The two of them just walk off, leaving her standing there. And trust me, what happens next just hits different. Han Aram touches her cheek and whispers, "Deceptive," referring to Yana. Wondering how she could show zero regret.